This is the office of Canton Technology. They're currently working on an incredibly boring breakthrough in supply chain logistics. But little do they know that their top programmer is about to make an historic mistake.
I think I got it! Ah, me!
What light through yonder window breaks? Have I so quickly left my dear lady's side? Well, what strange land have I happed upon?
Cleveland? I'm not getting sued again. Okay, guys, rule number one. We do not talk about this with anyone. We gotta figure out what to do with him.
How like a dream is this I see and hear?
Coder, what did you do?
Do you have a name?
Them that speak of me do call me Sir Bardolph.
Good Lord. All right. Okay, Barry. Oh my gosh. Let's put that down.
Where resideth my beloved?
I guess he can stay at my place.
So days passed and weeks carried on as Sir Bardolph of Essex assumed a role at Canton Technologies, doing his best to assimilate into the office environment and this whole modern world. Success proved difficult.
Though thou, strange earth, hath torn this knight straight from his day, still he doth vow with heart so pure, yet mind unclear, to seek the fruit from this some rough and barren tree that thou, a wise and knowing God, hath laid in front of me.
No.
Lest mine eyes e'er look upon my sweet Cordelia again.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I know it's been really difficult being in the future. I got some really good poetry I wanted to share with you. Next time you see her, if you see her, say this. Are you a campfire because you're super hot and I want some more? And just write it down.
The next day was the day of the annual chili cook-off at the office.
And the winner of the 2019 Cleveland District Office Chili Contest is... same as every year, Sam Cantwell.
Thanks, James. Thanks.
After numerous unsuccessful attempts at fixing the dire situation, patience unfortunately grew thin for Sir Bardolph's antics.
Come on, stop playing!
Sir Bardolph of Essex. You and I need to talk. I understand that you arrived here under some unusual circumstances, and some would maybe say highly illegal circumstances.
Misery acquaints a man with strange bedfellows.
Look, I really appreciate you keeping all of this under wraps.
The better part of valor is discretion.
Barry, I don't know what to do with you. To fire you, to not fire you.
I got it!
That is the question.
All right. Yes!
Oh, my Bardolph!
My Cordelia!
Where hast thou been?
A strange land called Cleveland.
And didst thou find a new love in the land of Cleve?
I would not wish any companion in the world but you.
Oh, parting with such sweet sorrow.
I spent all my time there penning this prose for you.
Yo, 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 Sir Bardolph. What? Cracked the code, now I'm home. Riding chrome, cause they changed the parameters. Back in time, busting rhymes, spitting lines in iambic pentameter. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? I say nay. For a love like yours, these simple metaphors can only get in the way. Never doubt my desire, you must be a campfire, cause you're super hot, and I want some more. You're super hot, like a planet's core. You're super hot, the one I adore. You're super hot. Cause you're super hot,
And I want some more.
cause you're super hot,
Like none before.
cause you're super hot,
Yeah, I'm super hot.
super hot.
Thus ends the tale of Sir Bardolph of Essex. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man, in his time, plays many parts.
No, 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 no!
Hi, my name is Mike Rolfing, and I've been one of the team leaders of Anonymous Productions in the St. Louis 48-Hour Film Project for the last 15 or 16 years now. I hope you just enjoyed our latest entry from 2019, Sir Bardolph. That's a weird one, and a fun one. This movie you're about to watch is 90 minutes long, and it features the first 10 years of our team. There's so many things that can go wrong when you try to make a movie in 2 days, and this documents a lot of them. I worked on this movie for about 4 years. I finished it about a year ago, and it premiered last November in front of a live audience. So this online screening is just the second chance people have had publicly to see the movie, and I'm really excited you've joined us today. If you're watching this on YouTube, there's a chat window somewhere to the left, right, bottom. Feel free to chime in, tell us who you are, ask some questions, and we'll interact with you on there during this screening. And following the movie, we're going to have a special panel, a live panel with myself and a few other team members, and you can ask questions there as well as we talk about our experience. So with that, here's 480 Hours. I'll get it started. Check, check, check. Can you hear me? 1, 2, 3, 4. That better?
Yeah, that looks more like you.
Okay.
Moses supposes his toes are roses, but Moses supposes erroneously.
Singing around.
Yes.
The movie's so good.
That movie is amazing.
Does this look like, if I sit like this, does it look slouchy or is...
Roll the shoulders back.
Okay. Remember trying to talk to the lens.
Yeah. No, it's fine. I can stare down the pipe. We're good.
Feel free to talk with your hands or whatever you do
Okay.
naturally.
We're good to go. Everything's recording.
All right, so as best as you can, just like tell me how the 48-Hour Film Project works. The 48-Hour Film Project is an international filmmaking competition where teams are given 48 hours to make a movie.
4 to 7 minute film in 48 hours.
172,000 seconds.
So on Friday night, all of the teams gather to receive their required elements.
Each team leader draws a genre out of a bingo wheel.
Mockumentary.
Comedy.
Dark comedy.
Fantasy.
Action.
Adventure.
Musical.
Horror.
Drama.
Then every team is given the same prop, character, and line of dialogue that they have to use in some way in their movie.
We'll just have to wait.
Clock's ticking. 7 p.m. Sunday. You gotta turn it in.
And on Friday night, you try to bust out a script as quick as possible.
15 people in the basement. Everybody thinks that they have the best idea ever.
The girl and the drug runner are like making out.
Seriously. Trimming and trimming and trimming and trimming until we have something that makes sense. There's no looking back. We have to come out of Friday night with our script.
And then we get up the next morning and we're like, what are we doing? We shoot the whole thing Saturday.
You film everything, and maybe if you're lucky, you start editing on Saturday night.
Go to sleep for a little bit, wake up Sunday morning, and finish it.
Is it gonna work? Is something gonna go wrong?
You have to drive somewhere and turn it in on time.
If you're a second late, disqualified.
So that's it. We're done.
The following week, the movie screened at the theater.
I mean, there's hundreds of people there, there's sold out shows, and there it is. There's our movie.
Getting to watch your film up on the big screen, it's incredible. The top winner for every city then go to Filmapalooza,
which is the grand finale of 48 Hour.
It's a gathering of all the teams that won their respective cities' competitions.
And then they announce the top 10 in the world. And those 10 get to go to the Cannes Film Festival in France.
That's the Super Bowl World Series.
Somebody's film out there gets to screen at Cannes.
There's 120 cities, so your chances of getting to Cannes are very slim, but at the same time, very exciting.
It's the 48-Hour Film Project, and we've done it 10 times.
And now, for our next story.
My name is Mike Rolfing. I'm one of the team leaders of Anonymous Productions. 10 years ago, I just graduated from high school. I'd been making movies since middle school at least.
And now the weather.
Ever since my dad let me touch the video camera, I was filming my brothers.
He gives it up, and it's good.
Filming my friends.
Oh my gosh, they are switched!
Figuring out how all that stuff worked, copying movies, making James Bond parodies.
Boom, stick your hand out.
Making horror movies, killing people in my parents' pool, which has happened many times.
Here we have Thelma Thistle. Try saying that with a mouthful of cookies. Sure.
We found out about the 48-Hour Film Project because my friend Alex's mom read about it in the newspaper.
And it was a little blurb about something called 48-Hour Film Competition, which I believe was its second year in St. Louis at the time.
And Alex came to me and he's like, do you want to try this? We make movies. I think we can do this.
And we decided it was a good idea for us as high schoolers to enter this film competition and give it a go.
The team name was Anonymous Productions. No one really knows where that came from.
Anonymous Productions is a name I made up. We put it on the entry form. There is no meeting. We wish it had a meeting. It doesn't, but now we're stuck with it.
We were more or less just a group of high school students entering this competition full of adults, not really knowing what was gonna happen or if we were gonna do well, but year one, it was just, let's just do it. See what happens. We have nothing to lose. First, I just want you to say year one till death do us part and try to tell me the plot as best as you can.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So year one was Till Death Do Us Part. It was a romance, which was funny because...
Romance, in the loosest sense of the word.
You didn't get off screen!
The wife gets kidnapped.
And this bad guy gave a ransom to her husband.
They need $25 million by 4 o'clock today.
This is such a romantic film, so we learn through flashbacks that they have been in love.
But I'm a tiger, but I'm a bird.
The husband meets up with this hired thug.
Marty, glad you can make it.
He basically kidnaps the thug and forces him to drive him back to where they're keeping his wife. Plot twist, the wife is in on the whole thing.
No, Marty, I'm actually with him now, and he's all betrayed, and then she shoots him. And then the audience is freaking out, hopefully.
So she approaches Marty. Marty's like, babe.
Till death do us part.
What is going on?
Femme fatale, suckers everybody. They all die. She leaves with the money.
The hired thug and the chick were actually together and in on it the whole time.
Ready to go, sweetie?
Let's get out of here.
Our first year, writing night, Friday night, we didn't know what we needed for a creative writing team, so we just invited everybody.
Cousins and friends of friends. This whole just mess of people just like barfing out ideas.
I remember the time you had breast implants.
With the other guy.
Why would they arrange?
He has a flashback. Yeah.
My idea is the best idea.
Somehow, after hours and hours of writing, we came up with this kind of action romance hybrid.
I want to take you on a trip somewhere.
A trip?
Yeah, where do you want to go?
I've wanted to go. What am I saying? How long do I have to go on?
Saturday morning, our first location is at Alex's parents' house. The first scene is the big kidnapping opening.
We had a friend who had a Porsche, and we were repeatedly driving the Porsche up and down my parents' street.
People jumping out, grabbing this girl as she's screaming, slamming the door shut, skidding away, punching RC in the face, and leaving him there knocked out on the street.
Well, of course, someone sees this.
About take 4 or 5, we hear down the street, "Get off of him!" There's this lady down the street, like, waving her arms at us.
And Kristen goes down to talk to her.
She said that she kept seeing a Porsche drive up and down the street suspiciously.
And turns out she called the cops on us.
Yeah, we're sorry.
No, that's all right.
Okay.
I think somebody saw and didn't know what was going on.
That's, yeah. I don't know how that can happen, though.
Doing the same thing 20 times
camera
over.
yeah.
Very quickly, we're able to demonstrate to them that we posed no threat,
All right.
I'm sorry about that.
What was her name?
and we're allowed to continue because, again, we posed no threat.
Year 1, day 2, scene 1. Already got the cops called on us. Man, we're just starting off on the right foot here.
Hey, Marty, glad you can make it, buddy. Welcome to my humble abode.
That was awesome.
First year, we were probably naive, but we thought we had this great plan that we would write on Friday, shoot on Saturday, and edit on Sunday. By the time we were done shooting, it was relatively late on Saturday, but yeah, we we're gonna go to bed and we're gonna hit this on Sunday hard, and we thought that was a great idea. Jeff Keane, owner of Cool Fire Media, graciously lent us a professional editor for Sunday. We all showed up and started editing, and the poor guy had no idea what he was dealing with because we were all a bunch of amateurs.
Which at the time we thought, of course he can edit it in 10 hours. That year, we did not get it in on time.
Unfortunately, no amount of professional help could save us at that point.
Which disqualified us from winning any of the awards, which was kind of a bummer, but it turned out to be something pretty enjoyable for 2 days of not really knowing what we were doing.
Tell me, if you could pick any of the genres, what your ideal genre would be.
Oh man, it's hard to remember them all.
I really like the intensity of horror.
Slapstick.
Fantasy.
Action adventure.
Dark comedy.
Thriller. Comedy also has its own challenges because you can't write what you think is funny because it's not.
And it's really hard to be funny. It's easy to be funny to you or your buddy, but not to a theater full of people. And there's nothing worse than writing a really funny joke and then no one laughing at it.
Okay, year 2. I don't think we did a movie in year 2. Like the whole team, like everyone was out of town.
Year 2 is GSM Game Set Match. It's a comedy.
The plot,
I don't even know if I could tell you the plot of that.
The plot is basically a CSI spoof.
It was about these two cops who found a dead body on a tennis court. I was the dead body.
Deceased white male, 6 foot, between the ages of 10 and 73.
The 2 agents are trying to track down all the evidence and interview the suspects.
Am I a suspect? Is that all I am to you?
And get to the bottom of how did this guy die?
I think it was a sniper from a grassy knoll.
Poison gas from the tennis ball can.
The detective team was comprised of 2 people, one very straight-laced, hard-nosed veteran cop, and the other one a very flamboyant man.
I just can't crack this guy. He's locked up tighter than a ball.
And at the end of the movie, we find out it was the ball machine that killed him.
A gone awry tennis ball launcher.
I guess that's game, set, match.
Introduce yourself, who
Yes.
you are, and what you're
Okay.
doing here, and all that kind of stuff.
Yep, I am Michael Rolfing. I am the director of this craziness.
I'm Alex Doskel. I'm the film producer for Anonymous Productions.
I mean, right now we're working on some sort of CSI 24 type parody.
I want to be on time, and I'd like to win at least some sort of prize out of the 10 that they have. So.
And hopefully it'll be funny for more than just us.
Look at all these cool kids.
We started off okay. We had this funny idea, CSI spoof. And really the guys leading the charge on that were Jeff Keane and Carrie. They were coming up with all these ideas about how to make it really funny, and they had agreed to act in it.
So I think you walk around the entire time. Your head is always cocked. You know?
It was long enough ago that I don't remember why that didn't work out, but the next morning, neither I nor Uncle Jeff were there to play the roles we had written for ourselves.
All right, rolling.
I get a call. Jeff and Carrie are out. So Mike asked me to step up and be one of the main actors alongside John Powell.
This one was the only one that I ever truly really starred in, and the last one. And Mike, I don't think will ever use me as a starring character ever again.
And so we were stuck with JP and Hoove as our main actors. And what happened.
I just can't crack this guy. He's locked up tighter than a vault.
Looking back on it, like the character that we had written for this part, not exactly politically correct.
You know, I'm Torth the Bull, the Matthew with the Moody.
And I don't know, I guess I wasn't sure how that was going to turn out.
Christmas! I love Christmas! I'll start decorating.
Very insensitive portrayal in hindsight. We just thought it was funny. But it wasn't funny because comedy's really hard. It's hard to be funny.
We got done pretty early last night. Went back to my house, watched some footage. Now we're headed into Cool Fire Media to do some editing. This is our editor, Patrick Vaughn. Hey.
Jeff Keane, the owner of Cool Fire, came to me and he said, hey Patrick, I'd like you to help out with my nephew's, Mike's, 48-hour film project. I thought, yeah, I'm in for this, Jeff, I'm in for this. When I show up in the morning, you know, I'm expecting to have hard drives with digitized footage and projects laid out and things organized. And in reality, they hadn't done shit.
How's it going? It's going well.
But because the boss has asked me to do this, it's kind of like, not gonna yell or scream at him. So it is what it is. I've never missed a deadline in my career up to this day. And I wasn't about to miss this one.
What happened last year? Last year I wasn't involved, so they didn't make it. I'm just kind of standing here, doing nothing. This needs to be done in an hour. Yeah, it's on the tape. It's on the tape!
Somehow he got it done on time. We handed it in on time. It was okay.
Looking back on it, it's kind of the one we don't show people anymore. We kind of didn't even acknowledge its existence for about 9 years after the fact.
Dan and I tried to do our best. The jokes were very untasteful.
But more importantly, I think we did this tastefully.
We probably offended some people.
In a way that shouldn't offend anybody.
And we had no chance to win whatsoever.
You know, I think we're in the running for some of the awards.
We kind of watched that movie with a little bit of a smile whenever we mention it. It's just, it was a goofy year to say the least.
Talk about the screenings at the Tivoli.
After the exhausting weekend, the screenings start.
The screenings happen at the Tivoli, which is a really cool old theater here in St. Louis, and it's really a big event. The atmosphere there over those nights watching those films is so much fun.
You feel like a small town celebrity, kind of. You know, you're getting your whole team together, your family, your friends, and everyone, and all the other filmmakers.
And it's all of them. They show all of them. So, you know, you have some that like a couple teenagers threw together, and then you have some that people have been doing it for 10 years did, you know.
At the screenings, you vote for Audience Choice, which is the audience favorite movie of the screening.
And then from there, they pick the best of. They pick the best 15 films and they screen them again. And at that screening, they give out all the prizes.
Best film, best director, you know, best cinematography, sound, etc.
Man, it's well worth it when you're watching your film up on that screen, even if it's not that good.
Year 3, supply and demand, and I totally forget the genre.
Sci-fi? Okay.
I'm out at a gas station with a Humvee. It only cost me $11 to fill this beast up.
Basically, this guy gets kidnapped at the gas station.
He wakes up in a room with other people. My uncle, my great uncle, a woman.
What was the last thing you were doing before you woke up here?
There was a real threat in there, and Jason was determined to find a way out.
And like slowly people start getting taken away.
Lights go out, another one disappears.
Everybody's freaking out, and you know, there's one guy and he's just sitting over in the corner laughing like a creep. Throughout the movie, it keeps cutting to these news broadcasts, and they're talking about falling gas prices, and of course everybody's pumped falling gas prices.
Don't look now, we may have trouble. Back to you, Jim.
Turns out gas has been so cheap in this movie because they've been making gas out of people.
A revolutionary process that can convert organic tissue into combustible fuel.
God, like a horrible human, like just atrocities.
And action.
Tastes like chicken.
The required character in year 3 was Ryan Coccinelli, entomologist, which is basically a studier of bugs. And we had the perfect guy to play him, Mike's great uncle, Uncle Bobby, he's a character in real life too.
There goes another one. I'm Bob Coons. Most people call me Uncle Bobby.
I don't remember exactly how he got involved, but I think we just wanted an older person to be in our movie, and so I invited him to come year 3.
So he's just over there eating bugs, because I guess that's what we thought entomologists do when they go crazy, is they eat bugs, so.
I think I was a mad scientist or something, and my famous line was, tastes like chicken. It tastes like chicken.
Guy out of his mind or something?
So after Supply and Demand, Mike decided it'd be fun to have Uncle Bobby in every one of his movies, and so he continued to ask him to be in them in some way or another.
Uncle Bobby is the Stan Lee of 48 Hours. Every Marvel movie you watch, you're always anticipating where is Stan Lee gonna show up at. So Uncle Bobby is the Stan Lee.
Michael really reached out to me. He just needed an old guy that stuttered it and couldn't remember the lines, but the neatest thing about the whole thing that he kept coming back year after year. He asked me to come, and that was so special to me. And it's just, we just really bonded. And that's just family.
There's gotta be a way out, right? I'm not buying it. There's a way out of here.
This year we learned from years prior and decided to start editing as soon as possible. We finished shooting 5 in the afternoon, went right to my house, to the basement, had it all set up, ready to go, and started capturing the tapes, getting it all in the computer, and started editing.
We actually had Mike take over as editor, so we're like half a day ahead of where we were normally by Sunday morning.
So Sunday, we are down in the basement, we're editing. We've got all these computers up, all these TV monitors, everything is clicking. We've got almost everything completed, and then everything just turns off.
For some reason, Daniel Hoover decided to bring his Xbox over.
And he plugged it in, and he blew the circuit.
It was completely irrelevant to the very important task at hand.
And of course, Mike looks around the room and sees us playing Xbox. He's like, you blew the circuit. You ruined everything. Get out of here. You know, take your Xbox and go home. Like, you're not even helping. And I'm like, well, you know, we're just.
Well, we all know it was his Xbox. That's what caused it.
Hoover. Love you, Dan.
We blew the fuse somehow. I believe it was the Xbox.
But fortunately, we didn't lose too much work and we got it in on time and won Audience Choice Award, so pretty excited about that.
And the first Audience Award group, number 1, Supply and Demand.
It's only our 3rd year, and here we have the entire audience voting ours their favorite film.
You know, in 3 years, that's pretty phenomenal to go from absolutely not knowing what you're doing to the second year thinking you knowing everything you're doing, and then the 3rd year everything sort of came together.
I still want to know why he brought an Xbox. No one ever got a straight answer from him on that.
Year 4 was wiped. It was a spy movie.
It is a story of corporate espionage.
I had downloaded some information from our company onto a portable disk and to sell it.
He gets out there.
Got it? I got it.
and hands it over.
That's amazing. You know, I put it in the computer, I checked to make sure that all the files were there.
Let's not belabor this. You got my catch?
It was perfect, it was great, I gave him the money.
The bad guy takes the hard drive with the secrets back to his boss.
Don't worry, Ellen Frickle is not a name that will soon be forgotten.
And the hard drive's blank. It's been wiped.
And we paid $25 million for what?
And you see in a flashback, there's a little magnet right here in his pocket.
Which in turn wipes the data from the drive.
That little guy, key to the whole plot.
Hold on, it was just here. Made the biggest fool of myself. I'm still embarrassed about it, guys.
He not only hasn't screwed his company over, but he also now has a case full of money.
I ride off into the sunset, literally, in a plane, and the purchasers were left with nothing.
But they won't.
No. Next slide. I am Joe Wilmot. I'm a dental sales rep, and for a very brief, 1-day, 8-hour period of time, I got to be an actor.
Joe is definitely not an actor. Not by any means. But I will give Joe his due. He did a great job with this movie.
I was the high school volleyball coach, where a lot of the participants and actors and producers had either attended or were coaching or teaching. I had 0 acting experience prior to 48 Hour. I just met them Saturday morning, and they basically gave me a very brief once-over of the script, saying, hey, this is what we're trying to do. Here's what we're having you say. Here's the key things you have to say. Here's how we're going to work it, and, you know, have at it and go.
You look horrible. Why don't you get out of here?
I'm trying. Thanks, bro. Good to see you. Hey, Pipey, come here, sweetie. Look, you know, Daddy was in a movie a long time ago, before you were even born. You were in Mommy's belly when this happened. Listen.
The magnet was the required prop for Wiped, and we deliberated a long time about how we were going to use the prop and what were we going to do. How does this even work for a spy?
The previous 3 years that we had done this, the prop was just kind of one of those things that we kind of threw in.
The great thing about Wiped is we came up with an idea and we made the prop central. Like, you can't have this movie without that prop.
It was a really groundbreaking moment when we were like, it'll erase a hard drive. And then we were like, we got a movie.
All right, see that? See where Daddy swiped it right there?
Yeah.
That's where Daddy wiped the disc. So Daddy's gonna get a bunch of money for doing nothing. I'm definitely not an actor, you can tell. Where'd the bags go? But that year we won a number of awards, and it's just a neat thing to be a part of. What do you think? Should Daddy keep acting or working?
Keep acting.
Yeah, whatever. Get out of here.
Year 5 was Superman's Super Day.
And that was a vacation holiday film.
It's a world where lots of people have superpowers to varying degrees.
Ben has a superpower, which is possibly the worst superpower on the face of the planet.
Have you ever seen anything like it? I sure haven't, Mikey.
Kind of like King Midas, except what he turns things to is sand, not gold, and so there's not a lot of use for sand. It just ruins a lot of good stuff.
Means that he has to keep gloves on all the time, these awkward gloves.
And it is actually Superhero Day, which is a national holiday.
This is his least favorite day all year.
He decides to go see a superhero therapist.
We see flashbacks of times when he was a child when his superpower caused him issues.
Turns cake into sand. He kills his grandma on accident. He's chastised by his coworkers.
Happy Superheroes Day today. I know that's your favorite, huh?
The therapist comes to the conclusion that at least to relieve some stress, he should just take the gloves off every so often.
And as he's leaving, he touches something on the receptionist's desk.
Oh, I'm sorry. She told me to take the gloves off, and I forgot.
But wait, cute receptionist has a power to turn things from sand into things.
And it's all happily ever after with Ben and receptionist Sandra. So somewhere in the middle of our Friday night brainstorming session, Mike just pops in and says, so I have this coworker, and he does this really cool effect where he can turn something into sand. And we essentially decided to build a story around sand.
He and a friend had written some plugin or software or something for a commercial they had worked on years ago to turn objects into sand. We shot all of those shots early on in the day so we could send them to him.
Smile.
Say like, oh, take this alarm clock and turn it to sand. And then a couple hours later, we get this clip back and poosh, there goes the alarm clock, perfectly turned to sand. We're like, Okay, now can you turn grandma into sand, please?
And by Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, we had all of our effect shots finished.
It was awesome. Our own little custom industrial light and magic.
You rolling?
Rolling.
We had a number of things that were turned into sand as a part of the movie, and we were not finding really the sound effects that we needed. And so we went and took a 50-pound bag of sand and started playing with sand, basically. Playing with it on the floor, throwing it at a table. We did that for probably at least an hour, if I had to guess. Almost all of the different versions that we created made it into the movie in one form or another.
That year we won Audience Choice again, and we won Best Sound Design, which I think had a lot to do with our sand Foley. Continued our Audience Choice streak for the 3rd year in a row, and won a little extra prize there too. There's one genre that everyone dreads, and it's called musical/western. You can make a musical, you can make a western, or you can combine them somehow. So year 6, we decided no matter what we draw, we're gonna make a musical.
Part of it was that we went into every year dreading choosing the musical genre, and we just thought maybe we'll just prepare for it.
And you're allowed to combine genres, so we can make a sci-fi musical, we can make a comedy musical, we can make a romance musical. It doesn't matter what you draw. So that was the plan in year 6.
So we got singers, we got choir directors, we got virtuoso composers, all lined up, all at the office waiting for us.
Dosakal goes up to draw the genre. The bingo wheel's spinning. Like, what's it gonna be? What are we gonna have to make a musical out of?
929 silent film.
Silent film.
Which is pretty much the opposite of a musical.
That's like the wheels start moving. Like, okay, what? We have 2 options. We either completely scrap the musical idea, or we go for the wild card.
If you choose your genre and you don't like it, take a wild card, and you get a randomly assigned genre.
Which could be anything. It could be period piece. It could be foreign language film, and then we'd be singing in French.
And once they assign you that, you're stuck with that. You have to do that. So there's a risk involved. But we need to take that risk because we're not making a silent film.
We chose wildcard, and we got adventure cereal, which I assumed was a breakfast food of some sort, but it wasn't.
The Adventures of Johnny Jet, Part 8, The Speeding, Plummeting Brick of Doom.
Johnny Jet is a part of a story where we have a hero, a heroine, and a bad guy.
Johnny Jet was super fast, and he could run like lightning.
Johnny, once again, finds himself in detention.
Shut up!
He knows that impending doom is coming because Dr. Devious, he has captured Johnny's girlfriend.
The bad guy's gonna drop a brick on her.
And he doesn't really know like where Daisy Day is.
Where is she?
Johnny Jet has a banana phone that he gave to Uncle Bobby.
Charles Crosby. I was like a secret agent, and he would contact me through the produce department. Hello?
So Uncle Bobby had put a tracking device on Daisy Day.
No, really, you. I was tied up in this ditch.
Then it's just an action-packed series of events.
Johnny gets there just in time.
Leaves you with the cliffhanger. Dr. Devious has planted a bomb in the promenade.
We'll just have to wait.
I love you, Johnny Jet!
He foils the henchman. Bad guy calls him.
We very quickly came up with the story of Johnny Jet.
Says hello. Johnny's appeared right there because he just ran. Right.
And decide maybe a musical isn't quite the best way to go, but we can take advantage of all these people that we have here.
When you think of an adventure serial, think Batman in the 60s or whatever. At the beginning and at the end, there's a theme song.
You know, that whole hook of like, Batman or Johnny, and you know, it doesn't take long for a little nucleus of an idea like that to start forming.
1, 2, you ready?
Yeah.
1.
I mean, we've been in there for 12 minutes, and they're in the other room, like just banging out chords, writing out music, literally writing music on sheet music, and like, oh, we got it. I think we got it. I think we got it.
Ready, go. Johnny up. Johnny
I'm feverishly trying to tap out this script that we had all talked about, And in the meantime, I'm hearing these like beautiful 4-part harmonies piping in from the other room that didn't exist an hour ago. And it's the theme song of the movie I'm trying to write.
And here we are, just with a little keyboard set out on a pool table, giving the guys their notes and giving the girls their notes, and they got it. It was really fun.
Quicker than lightning, his speed is just frightening. Look out for Johnny Jet.
How's your headphone level there? You can hear me okay?
It's getting late. We need to record something, so we stuffed 15 people into the booth.
And there's just us in that little window. Everyone's packed in.
You drag a little bit.
Only one person can hear the click track, and so we're all behind. But I mean, it all came together, and it was very neat and very cool to be a part of.
That's fun.
And just, you should be looking straight at the camera, and people don't laugh so you can stay in it.
I had known who Mike was through the ether of our high school.
And like look over your shoulder a couple times. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
But I'd never really met this guy. I had just finished a musical, and our choir teacher knew that Mike was looking for backup singers. So I walk in completely petrified, having no idea what I have just gotten myself into. I had gone under the notion that I was going to be a background character, potentially in a choir. And as the night developed, it turned out that I suddenly became the main actor, the star of the film.
And go.
And that is how the seemingly uninteresting human became Johnny Jet, the fastest boy alive.
We're on scene 13.
So our final location on Johnny Jet was my dad's airport again. We had used his airplane a few years prior. We had written into the script that Dr. Devious is in an airplane. So we show up at the airport to use my dad's little airplane, and his hangar neighbor is just hanging out outside. He's like, hey, you want to use my giant Alaskan cargo plane? And we're like, really?
This crazy old, like 1940s Indiana Jones style, like awesome plane, which is perfect for this adventure serial, like comic book Dr. Devious bad guy plane.
It was sort of old and rusty and just had a very unique look.
Whoa, this is so cool, dude. Pull the paratroop lever, drop a salvo.
Action.
Hey, Johnny, you running yet? Because I just dropped the brick. Should I laugh?
Sound rolling. Camera rolling. Banana scene, take 2.
In the making of Johnny Jet, it was one of the first years that we used HD cameras, and with the cameras that we were using that year, we had to have a separate device to record audio.
Go the whole day shooting on the 5D, recording on the Zoom recorder. So we're at the airport, we wrap up shooting, we're packing up all the gear.
The team treks back from Illinois, and they're like, all right, that's a wrap. Let's start editing. Mike goes to town. I'm working on graphics.
It gets to the point where he finally asks, hey, well, where's that audio? I'm ready to start dumping that audio in. Oh, well, we'll go get it.
Yeah. It's. I think he had it in his bag.
Hey, do you know where the audio's at?
Didn't she give it to you?
This created a frantic firestorm of everyone looking for the sound recorder.
We look through every car, we call every person on the set, have them look through their car.
At first it was just a mystery, and then it quickly became we lost the sound recorder and all of our sound.
We gotta go find this thing. So Luke and Hannah get in a car, drive over the bridge, over to Illinois.
Back to the airport, and we looked around the planes and the hangars, everywhere we were. Can't find it. Not to mention the recorder was rented, I believe, from somewhere. So this is just a huge mess altogether. And right when we were about to give up, or we were leaving the airport, and Hannah says, hey, wait, hold on. We should look around here. Maybe it was on top of someone's car. And I remember laughing, thinking that's absurd. But okay, so we look on the ditch, the side of the road in Country, Illinois, and lo and behold, we find the rented sound recorder.
They speed back to St. Louis. They hand in the recorder. No one really knows what happened. We have to get the CSI guys from year 2 on the case. They might be able to figure it out.
And there just really wasn't enough time, which was a bummer because we had an amazing theme song. Daniel made some awesome graphics. This airplane that just came out of nowhere.
It always comes down to what happened in the last hour of the 48-hour film project. Like maybe you had a computer crash and you have this perfect film that would have won all the awards, but if you're a minute late, you're a minute late. You know, you aren't eligible for awards, but we still want to show your film. Turn it in to me and I'll make sure it gets into the screening. You aren't eligible for awards, but you are still eligible for the Audience Choice Award.
Somehow, people voted for it anyway, and we ended up winning Audience Choice Award, being able to go to the best of screening with a late film.
I don't think a movie has ever won Audience Choice when it's in the late category, but this one did, and it was just, that was nice. Look out for Johnny,
Boom. First in line again.
We had tried to do our musical. Didn't work out for us, but we figured there's no way we could draw silent film twice in 2 years. So we thought we'd try it again.
Got the choir back, got the music composers back.
Do the same drill and see if we can actually do it this year. Again, it's the terrifying thing of what genre we're gonna draw.
I-24, Film de Femme.
That's good. Film de Femme is a genre they created for 48 Hour, which only really means you have to have strong female characters.
I'm okay.
So we're golden. Like, we can do whatever we want.
Year 7 was Ballad of Jill.
This was a movie de femme, film de femme.
Jill was kind of an introvert. And she just stays at home and cleans all day. The required prop was a broom, so we had to get it in there somehow.
She's living at home with her parents.
Wake up! Wake up!
She doesn't have a job.
And her sister is over the top peppy.
I'm off to work, what you doing today, hey?
Jack Bovey plays the narrator.
Just staying home and cleaning house.
His voice comes out of every single person's mouth. No one has a line but Jack.
I'd prefer not to.
And she goes to work while Jill stays home and cleans.
And meets her new client, Charlie.
Danielle finds out that Charlie just moved down the street.
Crisis. Jill runs out of cleaning supplies.
Ring, ring.
So she calls up her sister, Danielle. She says, can you pick some up?
And Charlie says, walk down the street and get some from me. And Jill's like,
should I stay? Should I go? Leave the place that I know. Yes! No! Yes!
She breaks the broom, signifying breaking the shackles. Heads down the street with her personal choir in tow.
Surprise! Charlie is Jill's childhood sweetheart.
They have a look. It's cute. Movie's over. Two of our musical geniuses who had collaborated in the previous year came back to reprise their roles. Brent Johnson, Bill Hoover.
Yes, you wouldn't go.
Yes.
Mike let the music guys go do their thing, and they started jamming out some ideas.
Got it, and he can go, got up in the morning, doesn't matter. Just really scared.
Meanwhile, we're over in the writer's room trying to figure out how this is going to work. And we quickly settle on, it's not like singing all the time, but it's a narrator. There's singing that gets chimed in every so often. Something grooving and soulful and gospel-y, and that's what we're picturing.
Basically, almost wrote a kind of a blues riff, and it's like, didn't matter, this is about Jill. We're just jamming in the sound room. There were 6 or 7 folks brought in to be the choir.
Wake up, wake up.
There you go.
What that left, though, is a big hole for telling the story.
Out of plane, take one.
Jack Bovey, who played Dr. Devious the year before,
Next time, Johnny Jet, you're mine.
showed up to help sing in the choir. And he has such a great, unique singing voice that it kind of organically turned into him being the narrator of the entire film.
All right, so I'll give you a little bit of a pre-roll.
We probably didn't have the script done until midnight. And at midnight, Bovey hops in the booth.
I'm off to work, what you doing today? She'll respond.
Hey.
You sing in choir in a church and it's entirely different, and then you sing in a movie and it's you want to over enunciate and over express, and we just busted it out. It was a lot of fun. That whole experience, having never done it before, was just a real treat.
Perfect.
Bravo, bravo.
That was good. That went a lot better than I thought it would. Not from you, but just like figuring out how that would even work.
Yeah.
I think we were out of there at 4 a.m. on Friday night with like a 9 a.m. call time on Saturday, and we're thinking, what have we done to ourselves? But on the other hand, we had just walked away with the completed soundtrack. The entire movie was scored. The entire movie had dialogue.
All we had to do was lip sync to it and shoot it, which is a tall order, but it cut down on a lot of things we had to worry about on set. Freestyle, roll it.
So, Ballad of Jill, making a Ballad of Jill. It's a great film, but if you were any part of making it, it was quite the day.
They're back. The cicada apocalypse.
Swarmageddon. We're talking about a boatload of cicadas.
That's good. 3, 4. Every 15 years in St. Louis, there's this massive, locust attack. There's these eggs in the ground. They all hatch at once, and our city just gets covered with cicadas.
It took everything in our power to pull it together for 12 seconds and do what we needed to do for Mike to film us. And then, okay, oh God, hold on. And then he would say, okay, you're good. And everyone would freak out.
So we're doing clapping things and they're flying up our sleeves and we're trying to act like nothing's happening,
Keep going through it.
We'd be walking and we'd be singing, and then all of a sudden Mary Kate would just hit the floor.
We would start shooting and these cicadas are just flying at your face and we're screaming and trying to keep it together, and any makeup we had on was just sweating off.
Our decision to not record on location sound turned out to be much huger than we could have imagined, because our entire soundtrack would have been
Go ahead.
I got involved with the 48-hour film project. It was this really random, amazing thing that happened. I had moved to St. Louis, found this group of people who were all creative. I just remember getting a text would you want to be involved? I said yes, and that was the year of The Ballad of Jill.
Jill responded in her usual way. Just staying home and cleaning house.
It was such a bizarre, fun thing to be a part of. And even though I didn't speak at all, just to have to lip sync, and it was just ridiculous and fun.
Yes! No!
Perfect.
Friday night, once we really knew we were doing a musical, we had a thought.
We could do something pretty interesting, and Mike and I had kind of had this idea for a while to do some sort of movie that was based on rhythms and kind of just natural sounds.
So in addition to this musical that we wrote, we decided that we were going to do a sound effects breakdown in the middle of musical.
The choir doing different things, helping her scrub the floor, and the sink turning on and off, and the weights in the weight room clinking and clanking.
It's funny, they come up with these crazy ideas have you ever seen Stomp? Maybe we could do something like Stomp. I'm like, dude, it's 3 a.m. I don't know.
Create basically a drum solo using sound effects. And that was a pretty big challenge.
We tasked Hoover with creating this montage, and throughout the day, he and Sarah Haas would shoot all these things. And then the entire time it took me to edit the whole movie, he spent in a room next door cutting together this 30 seconds.
I remember the first time seeing the finished cut of The Ballad of Jill and thinking to myself, wow, that actually worked.
Yay, we finished.
After last year, I almost forgot what it's like to turn them in.
We're not there yet. So Ballad of Jill, we got done on time, thankfully. You know, year 6 with Johnny Jett, we had some awesome music. And we were really sad we didn't have a chance to win any music prizes. Our big plan this year was to make a musical no matter what we got. And I guess it worked. And so, having Brent and Bill back to do that again.
Best choreography, The Ballad of Jill.
And then winning Best Musical Score.
Best musical score, The Ballad of Jill.
Was really nice.
Best editing, The Ballad of Jill.
Finally, 1 year later, right, we got our Best Musical Score.
Audience Award Screening Group C, The Ballad of Jill.
Year 8 is Playtime. It's a dark comedy. It's the story of a guy who's auditioning for a talent show. His name's Dwayne Trammell. He's a puppeteer.
He's got this puppet. The puppet's like alive, and it's like talking to him.
Where are we going?
And the puppet friend is his voice of conscience, or his motivating voice.
This was a mistake. Your whole life is a mistake.
His puppet is telling him that he sucks and he's not talented, he can't do all these things.
You're pathetic.
Next.
Another person waiting in the wings is the girl that he has a crush on.
So Dwayne wants to impress the girl at the talent show.
And his puppet is like encouraging him to talk to her, and he just won't, and he's nervous, and he's trying to battle through that.
You missed her. Again.
You know what? I'll write you a check to laugh. How much do you want?
She, recognizes him, notices him, gives him a smile.
Good luck, Dwayne.
This makes him elated, and he goes out and he nails his routine, and he's phenomenal, and he's wonderful.
Why can you never hear a pterodactyl in the bathroom? Because the P is silent. Oh!
He's killing it. Like, the jokes are landing, the judges love it, but then it starts to get like distorted and weird.
And then the girl comes up and they're about to kiss, and then it's like, psych.
Dwayne, don't you have an audition today?
And it was weird.
Oh, I did, Mom. I was great.
Everything that you've seen, this whole triumphant love story, is actually a sad, pathetic daydream.
I'd like to do it with her. We make beautiful music.
We always try to have locations lined up ahead of time, secured, ready for us to use. And this year we had a theater available to us. And we had more or less planned on using it because it was a cool location.
And at the same time, the required character was a puppeteer. And those two things don't really go together any better.
So we got super lucky, and it just kind of fell into place.
And then I said, hey, puppet, you need a hand?
The problem was getting a puppet, and we said, we'll figure it out.
You want to give us a tour of your room, Ben?
It turned out I had a friend, Ben Ogier, who had a legitimate Muppet puppet made of himself, and he was kind enough to let us borrow it.
Can you talk a little bit about
Yeah. Make him go. So our first location was Ben Ogier's house. Not only to get the puppet, but because Ben has an amazing collection of action figures.
This is my room. There's some stuff over here and there's more stuff over there. is hard to describe. There's a lot of words you could use to describe it. Impressive is one. But I would go on a limb and say every Star Wars toy ever created was in that room.
It's a museum. It really is. It was a museum to toys.
Floor to ceiling shelves, like 5 deep in Star Wars characters.
And we just knew it would be the perfect place to kind of yank the carpet out from underneath the audience and reveal that it's this like guy that's dreaming about his doll or whatever. It just make it really, really weird.
Oh, your top came down.
It's okay. Cut it.
Hopefully he doesn't. It's not a commentary on Ben. It's not at all. He's a great guy.
I'll never let you go.
Alright. That's disgusting. I feel pretty good.
Yeah. Action. Crystal! Dustin!
Year 8, we got playtime in on time.
That year we won Audience Choice again, and we won 3rd place, which was the best that we'd ever won overall. So very exciting for sure.
They ranked it 3rd out of like 60. That's pretty good. We have some confidence now going into year 9.
That's awesome.
So our required prop this year was an umbrella, and a lot of the times what teams will do will be, you know, like somebody will walk outside and open up an umbrella in the rain, and that'll be it, just to get it in there. But what our team did was put it in like almost every shot.
Year 9. Yeah, year 9 was Reimer's Block.
The genre is vacation holiday film. My character takes off work, which means he goes on vacation.
He's a teacher. He calls his substitute to tell him he has to take a day off because he has a lot of work to do.
Takes a day off to enter a contest for Dr. Umbrella's Umbrella Emporium.
You could buy an umbrella somewhere else, but I do not recommend it.
To win free umbrellas for life was the prize, which is just such a fabulous prize.
And the whole premise of the movie is him trying out different things that could conceivably rhyme with umbrella, and then envisioning what an ad, involving that thing would look like.
Mozzarella,
Portobello,
Nutella.
We see Cinderella.
Everything around him is just rhyming with umbrella.
Hi, we're raising money for our a cappella group. He just can't figure out what to do, and he finally comes up with something, and he's proud of it.
And then a little girl one.
Buy an umbrella
because there's Swella.
Hey!
It's a very strange movie.
So we've created this character whose name was Dr. Umbrella.
And Tom Henry was there, and we basically wrote the character for him.
Dr. Umbrella!
Doing it live and writing the lines just like right there.
I don't know, just a guy that kind of, comes off a little bit like he might be on something.
We were like, this is amazing, this is creepy, I'm terrified, and I'm laughing simultaneously.
So that was the character, was something that I was like, well, we can just go nuts with me then. We'll just droop the Nutella, throw the mozzarella in my face, and we'll have fun with it.
We're like, yes, you are going to play him. It's going to be awesome. See you on Saturday.
Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Action.
Hi, we're raising money for our... Oh, talking to the camera.
Is everyone smiling?
Yeah, got it. Yep.
All right. Action.
Hey! We're raising money for our a cappella group. Let's start over.
You scared me.
And action.
Hey! We're raising money for our... Oh, sorry, let's look at the camera.
Camera!
Go.
No, airplane.
Action.
Hi! We're raising money for our a cappella group. Would you like to?
Donate.
It's supposed to be bad.
It should be a little better than that.
Saturday morning, we show up at my parents' house to shoot, and I get a phone call, like 9 a.m., late in 48-hour terms.
What?
It was Tom's dad telling me that Tom is like throwing up and sick in bed and he can't come.
No!
We're thinking, no, like Tom is perfect for Dr. Umbrella. What are we going to do?
And so Mike and Carrie sort of went into panic mode because they didn't have their Dr. Umbrella anymore, and they asked me if I knew anybody to play this wacky, wild character, and I immediately thought of one person.
All right, we're rolling.
Quiet, please.
And one person only,
All right, so you're gonna reveal yourself.
and that was Rob Severson.
I'm Dr. Umbrella of Umbrella Emporium.
Who basically in real life is Dr. Umbrella. Maybe just toned down a little bit, but they're damn close.
You could buy an umbrella somewhere else, but I do not recommend it.
Literally our first time meeting him, and he shows up with an entire wardrobe of clothes, an entire store of umbrellas, and really was just in the mindset to play this character.
Umbrella. They also lost back, didn't they?
He jumped in without any hesitation.
You need to spit that out.
And then he was like, I really love portobellos. Can I have these? And we're like, yes, you can have them.
We're doing 2 takes. Okay.
When you're watching it and you say, what is happening, was the exact same thing we were saying while we were shooting it.
Mozzarella umbrella.
Is what is happening. It was just so bizarre. And none of us had ever met the guy.
All right, this is happening right now. Ready? Go.
Umbrella Nutella.
We abused him all day long. We poured things all over him and chocolate and made him eat all these things.
I'm getting chocolate in my eye, that's for sure.
Close your eye.
Rob, did they tell you what this job paid?
Mushrooms.
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 We ended up just, hosing him down like a dog afterwards.
Right. Oh, you can just stand up and let those mushrooms fall.
We've honestly never seen him since.
That's a wrap. That's a wrap on Robert.
Rob, you look like a salad. Yeah, it's salad.
It is so silly that it's great. And if it wasn't for Rob, it probably wouldn't have been even close to that.
That character had a lot of different ways you could have gone with it. I had a different idea for it at first, and it might be for the best it didn't go down that route.
All right, let's have a hand for Robert.
All right, tail slate, hoof.
All right. Here we go. I'm still on wave 50.
We finished this movie. It's ridiculous. Mike edits it. He writes all this music, and it all comes together. And we're fortunate enough, again, to be invited to the Best Of screening night.
We're in the Best Of. Great, because you never know. We go to the Best Of screening, they start announcing the prizes.
The audience favorite, Reimer's Block.
We get audience choice. Great, we're happy. Like, that's our goal.
7 in a row.
They start going down the line, the rest of the awards. You know, cinematography, no. Editing, no.
Best directing goes to Reimer's Block.
Okay, do we have a chance now?
All right, and our final award this evening.
We'd never ever won Best Directing, and usually that goes with Best Film.
Best Film, 2013 St. Louis 48-Hour Film Project goes to Reimer's Block.
It's still surprising to me. Special thanks to my whole team over there. Many of them have been with us for all 9 years.
It was the most ridiculous, off-the-wall idea that came together.
Somehow, it touched the hearts and the minds of the judges.
We'd been doing this a long time. We were there because we enjoyed doing it, and we made a really silly film. And I think just the heart that we put into it is really what finally brought us to that point.
An incredible surprise and really flattering. I mean, I did my small part, but I mean, these guys, you know, they worked their butts off for 2 days straight, and I showed up for a few hours on Saturday and get to reap the rewards.
9 years of, it's a lot of years of trial and error and getting close but not quite making it. And finally, after year 9, we win Best Film. In St. Louis, it's possibly our dumbest movie ever, but we kind of just threw everything out the window and just like went with our gut. And we had a ton of fun with it. Reimer's Block went to Filmapalooza in New Orleans, the 48-hour international finale, to compete against every other city winner in the world.
Even though we knew the top 10 went to Cannes, it just, how could that happen to us? It couldn't. And so we didn't even go to Filmapalooza, even though our film apparently screened there. I have no proof.
We didn't win anything else.
We were really satisfied with, winning first place in year 9 with Reimer's Block. And we were just like, that's it. We reached the top. Like, we're done.
Are we gonna do it again next year? I distinctly remember saying no, by the way. So year 10 rolls around. I've moved to California to follow my dreams.
Mike was engaged at the time and was supposed to get married in early June, and that's usually when the competition was.
And I was pretty much not planning on doing 48 Hour again that year.
So we're like, you know what? It's not gonna happen. I'm here, you're there, you're getting married.
But then the dates were released, and they were the weekend before Mike's wedding, which is still close and impressive, but he decided, screw it, we're doing it again.
We gotta do year 10. Nice round number, year 10.
It's year 10. What do we do? How can we top previous years? I'd always thought it'd be a fun challenge to shoot a 48-hour movie, not just in your city. You figure out a way to shoot in various places and get that footage sent to one central place and then submit it.
For a long time, there had been a rule only allowing up to 2 cameras in the film, and because of that, it was never really a practical option for us. But that rule had been removed a year or 2 prior and really gave us the opportunity to try to pull something off different.
Carrie moved to LA. I have friends in various states from college who did video production. I think we can pull this off. We're back.
All right.
Just be on standby to just randomly record cool stuff around where you live, and we're gonna use it somehow.
And every year when you walk into this, like, gosh, are we gonna produce something good or are we gonna fall flat? This whole experiment to shoot everything around the world, that could be stupid.
So that wheel starts spinning and we don't know what's coming next.
We'd never done horror before.
We quickly start brainstorming in the room. Like, what are some things that we could use all this footage for? Maybe there's like a movie trailer.
We thought about time travel. We thought about teleportation to all these different places.
What if there's like some sort of virtual reality thing? And you use all these shots as like elements of some sort of virtual reality. Okay, we're on to something there. Then we're given a ball and a building contractor and a line, which is it's not what you think it is.
At this time, you guys are free to go.
I immediately call Carrie, who's in LA. We start fleshing this idea out. By the time I get home, we kind of have the general idea ready to go. All right, I'll get back to you soon. All right, bye.
Let's make a movie about a kid who goes into virtual reality and gets trapped there by AI, accusing him of a murder he didn't commit.
It's Carrie.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Just more horror, tie in something that maybe we think sort of the darker end of technology, something that somewhere we might actually be in 30 years. I got involved with Anonymous Productions finally in year 10. I avoided it for years because everyone kind of knew I was a writer, and I thought, my gosh, if I have fewer than 48 hours to write a script, everyone's going to see how good I'm not. As these ideas were just coming in, when it kind of sounded like people were sort of gravitating towards like, oh, we kind of like that idea, I just wrote it down. And I'm not talking about notes, like I started penning a script. Because at some point, you have to have a script, especially when you only have 48 stinking hours to make a stinking movie.
So what are you guys tasked with doing?
It's a brain control device.
Brain control, yeah. Mike looked over at Alex and I and said, all right, we need some type of virtual reality helmet. So that's when the fun began.
What does he wear? What is the physical representation of this AI?
I think he needs bigger goggles, though. And they're just playing with fabric and fiber optic lights and electric tape.
We're going in the right direction.
We're getting warmer. We're still cold, but we're getting warmer.
Fortunately, Justin owns an IT company, and he's got like a car full of cables and LED lights and all this stuff.
We're working on it. Do you have like a sock hat or something?
Throughout the night, the script was coming together and the helmet was coming together, and you could kind of see like both things getting more and more refined.
Mapping the position of our neural network here.
To me, what is horror? Like, it's that like tension.
I'm just contacting a bunch of people from all over the world to tell them that what kind of footage we need.
So we decided someone dies in the past.
That's actually really sweet.
I don't know how you guys did this, where you came up with this idea, but it's awesome and it's perfect. But next thing, we don't have time to give you praise right now. Start the next thing.
I'm Chris Day. I'm audio, and last year was the first year I got to do it with Rolfing. It was the first year that they won, so we're trying for 2.
So the first time they won, you were involved. Is that saying something?
Yeah, absolutely.
Supposedly there's an empty office in there we're going to put a chair in. It'll just be this chair in a room. Okay. And it'll cut to that and the camera will kind of be pushing forward.
I drove to Keene Insurance on Saturday morning having a general idea of what was going to happen.
You become pretty, like, almost paralyzed except for your face.
But I hadn't looked at the script at all. As an actor who is pretty used to rehearsing, it kind of makes your heart race. Like, am I going to be able to do this? Am I going to be able to pull this off?
13.
All right, turn it off and kick it on.
We are in the room. It's a tiny room. There's like 16 people in this room. I had this light, and there was a little switch on the back that changed the color temperature from cold to warm. And my job was to hold the light and change the color temperature for so long. But I did it without complaining. Until now.
Wave 15.
And Dosikow, he's sitting there in front of the light, going like this.
Do you want him to actually move his head at all?
He can't.
Okay.
So that's good. No, that's good. Sorry, it's so funny.
Does it look good though?
No, it looks great.
Wave 15.
I'm sitting there trying to, like, you know, really get into it, but the camera's like right here and I can't look into that, and there's another one right here, and so trying to just like, boom, stay in it.
Well, my friend just died.
Do you mean the friend that you murdered?
What? My friend just died, and I'm being told that I killed him? And trying to, like, bring that emotion to it, it was quite an experience. I did it! I killed him! I killed my friend.
Darn good. All right, what's exciting?
Round of applause.
And then we ate lunch.
Here we are, production diary, LA unit. It's our cameraman Tuin. So I woke up at about 8 in the morning Saturday, picked up my friends, and all in all, 10 hours we spent in California getting a range of landscapes. And I had this idea of him running in the virtual reality, trying to run away from the AI. So I did a bunch of these running shots towards the beach, up rocks.
So, Leo, you'll be out and you'll just quickly jump into frame.
Yeah. Wave 18.
Mark. Action. I work with Wes Morell, and long story short, Wes knows this kid named Leo who's interested in acting. I invited him in to just kind of take a tour of the studio. Anyway, we stopped by Mike's office, and I'm like, hey, Mike, this is Leo. Leo, this is Mike. And of course, Mike, as Mike is, sort of like, hey, we're doing 48 Hour tonight. Want to come?
And so I was like, hell yeah, I'll come tonight. I got nothing going on, which I didn't. I didn't have anything going on. Go over to Mike's place and walk into his house. I don't know anybody, you know, I'm just kind of chilling out.
After the whole writing team dispersed, Leo stuck around and he read to us a script that he had written.
They found the body, Pete. Your mother's not gonna love you anymore.
And it was mildly terrifying.
She goes, well, all right then. But I'll have to come back and kill you in the morning.
You know, most of them were like, who is this guy? But then Mike was like, wait a minute. You should be the scary ass friend who's like haunting his mind in the virtual reality. And I was like, yes, I'm your guy. Thank you.
I had never met Leo. The dude is intense. And I'm just like, okay, you know, just trying to like stay in it.
Everybody was throwing their all into it, and so I felt like it was a safe space for me to give everything I had.
All right.
Awesome. Dude, it looks so good. Yeah, buddy.
Aaron's like, what have I done?
All right. Give him a second to cool off, guys.
So
So we went to a park to film the flashback scene, which is sort of the inciting incident for all of the therapy.
You guys are hanging out. Just walk back there. We knew we had to kill Leo somehow, and it needed to involve water. There's a little stream that flows through the woods at Kirkwood Park, so we figured we'd do something there.
So we start filming, and we're walking into the woods, we're filming our two main characters. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we hear thunder. My job quickly went from assistant director to make sure all this expensive equipment does not get soaking wet.
Holy crap. This is ridiculous. Yeah, it is. We start to shoot the scene where Leo dies.
All right, I'm going in. Ready? Yeah, and I just like lay down on the creek and I'm like bobbing and they pour some blood on my head.
Get him out of there. And within like 10 seconds, somehow all of the water that's coming from the neighborhoods and the park converged right where we were filming.
All this water, just from like 3 sides, just all met like right there and just went boom. Holy what is happening?
I mean, it's like a river. Like, this thing is moving fast.
What just, how did that, all that much
Hey,
water
we might want to
just
move
get
the
there?
stuff before this area floods.
Right when we were done with the last shot, the rain stopped. And we walked back and I'm covered in mud and fake blood and I don't have a change of clothes. But I was so happy. And there's just like steam, like hot steam rising up from the pavement. And I was just like, yeah, it was good.
Ready for your one line?
So we finished shooting on Saturday, and so from an actor's perspective, I'm like, okay, it's done.
That's a wrap. It is a wrap.
Nice work, dude.
But there were like huge chunks of it that we just didn't know what, was gonna be there.
Saturday night, editing has to start. And this movie is an extra challenge because half of it we didn't shoot.
That's amazing.
That is so
Oh my God.
Colorado's so incredible.
And then we start getting footage from New Zealand and Italy and Ireland.
California, Washington State, Washington, D.C., Utah, Canada.
We are a St. Louis team. There's no mountains, there's no ocean, there's no deserts, there's no hills. As it's sort of pouring in, we were really just sort of flabbergasted, just like, oh my gosh, thank you, Lord, it looks good.
Who are these people?
My friend from college.
We have a whole bunch of stuff to work with, and then it was in Mike's hands.
How long have you been editing?
I don't know.
A long time.
There were 36 people that volunteered. We had to get releases for everyone.
We settled with that.
EBT.
I think it works.
Getting close, like an hour and a half.
This needs to be exporting 10 minutes ago.
Oh, it's done.
What's up, mister?
That's it. We're done.
Say hi, Grandma. Say hi.
Hi.
Say hi, Grandma.
We were all really excited to see what the crowd's reaction was going to be at our first screening of EVT. Again, we wanted to raise the bar and see how far we could kind of push this to the limits.
So you walk in there and you've got kind of pride for your own project and you're like, okay, this is really great, but then you're also like a little nervous. And so all you can do is just sit there and watch.
Welcome to EVT, Experiential Virtual Therapy. In our groundbreaking state-of-the-art facility, one of our specially trained technicians will open the doors to realms beyond your imagination through realistic scenes of serenity. Welcome to Experiential Virtual Therapy, where your virtual experience exceeds reality.
Are you ready, sir? So the experience is pretty straightforward. When it begins, you'll hear a voice in your head, and just do what he says, okay? Now you're about to what we call go under. But if at any time you get weirded out or feel uncomfortable, just say, guide, bring me up, okay?
Okay.
I'm Amaris. If you need anything, tell your guide.
Hello, and welcome to Experiential Virtual Therapy, where your virtual experience exceeds reality. Relax your mind. I am now taking control of your motor functions. Focus on something rudimentary, something simple. There it is. Now just relax a moment while I look through the information you provided us. I see your name is Ben. You are 18 years old, and happy birthday a few days late. A healthy weight for your age. What are you here for, Ben?
My mom made me.
Well, Mother knows best. And are you satisfied with your present reality?
Is anyone?
That's well said. But your reality is especially troubling, isn't it?
Well, my friend just died.
Do you mean the friend that you murdered?
What?
The friend that you murdered.
What are you talking about? What is this?
You killed him.
This is stupid. Guide, bring me up.
I'm not letting you up.
Bring me up. How does this work? Bring me up!
I'm not letting you. No.
Let's go.
What happened?
I tried to save him.
It's not what you think it is. Your memories are inaccurate.
No! No! I'm ready to go. Let me out. I want to go home.
It's so easy for the truth to hide when it's contained in the human mind.
You don't... I want to go home. I want to go home.
I want to go home.
Let me out!
You killed him, Ben.
Okay, I did it. I did it! I killed him! I killed my friend!
Hi.
Ted Brookings.
Oh, with the contracting company. Is there something wrong?
Yeah, we detected a problem with the system.
Sure. Just go on back.
Are you ready to go home?
When I first saw it, I was mad because I thought this team knows the rules by now, right? Like they must know that, you know, they can't use stock footage.
What was key is we put in the credits, no stock footage was used in the making of this film. And that scrolled up onto that black screen and I heard someone go, oh, in the theater.
Say your line.
Are you ready to go home?
That was the first time I saw my face on a movie theater screen, which sounds really narcissistic, but I was just like, I can dig this.
So awesome.
Thank you. Thanks, man. It was a great time.
It was just a really proud moment, and we walked out, and I was just like high as a kite. Not like on anything, just on life. Like I was just like, you know, just walking a couple feet off the ground.
The following weekend was my wedding, and so a lot of us went to Michigan. We received an email on the day of my wedding that our movie made it to the best of. Got married, left for Hawaii, but there was still one more thing to be done. Best of screening.
Hi, I'm Alex Dosakel with Anonymous Productions. Unfortunately, our director can only join us via FaceTime as he's currently honeymooning in Hawaii. So he's
Alex has me on his phone, and we're looking out over the beach, like awaiting the results.
There's a lot of competition every year. We had won the previous year. We really weren't expecting to pull that off 2 years in a row, and just wanted to put out a good film.
EVT.
Yes.
Best sound design. EVT by Anonymous.
And I could just make out enough of the audio on the phone to realize that it was going well.
The audience award for Group B is EVT. Best film this year, in the conclusion of the 2014 40 Film Project St. Louis. Are you guys still on FaceTime?
Yeah.
Yes.
Tell Mikey that he won.
Wow. Wow, oh, wow.
It was an incredible, surprising, amazing thing to experience.
It was the wedding week and it was an amazing time. It was really, really exciting. Best week ever!
So we're in Hawaii, and we just won 48 Hour again. And so we're gonna have a celebration juice thing.
Good evening and welcome to Frames. I'm Jim Elchoff. We have a real treat for you tonight. It's a film called EVT. And with me, Mike Rolfing.
I'm Steve Potter, and welcome to Cityscape. I love the ending. He gets in his car with his mom. That's all I'm going to say.
Since we were able to win St. Louis, our film went to Filmapalooza,
which is this year's in LA at the Chinese Theater.
If you know anything about film, you know the Chinese Theater. It's world famous for all sorts of Hollywood premieres and red carpet events there.
Hi, 48 Hour.
Star Wars premiered in that theater, and my face is up on that big screen. I mean, that's incredible enough.
Chinese theater is a big one.
So we watched the film, had a good time, and then we got an email that our film was chosen for the final screening. It was one of 12 films to be shown the next day at the finale screening. Everybody came to this, and they were gonna see our movie.
We are at the TCL Chinese Theater at the awards ceremony. I'm pretty nervous about it.
Now, they made clear that there was no guarantee that that would mean an entry in the Cannes Film Festival, but it was an honor in and of itself to be screened at this award ceremony.
We showed up, we watched all the films.
Then it comes time for the main event, the announcement of the award winners. We didn't win any of these. They're just kind of just like, well, happy to be here.
And they started calling out the top 10 films that were selected for Cannes.
And I'm excited to announce who will be going. Amsterdam.
So they start going through the cities in alphabetical order.
Cairo. Mexico City.
And we know there's only 10. They get into the S's, and it's like San Antonio.
Santa Cruz de la Sierra. Seattle.
There were 4 cities that started with S.
We're like, we're out.
And St. Louis.
We're going to Cannes!
It's kind of a private joke among the inner circle of families, but at number 2 and 3 and 4, Uncle Bobby just thought out of the box, and I just caught it a little dream. I don't know if any of us ever thought they did, but I was familiar with the Cannes Film Festival, and I always said to Michael and to Carol that when they went, I wanted to be there. And it's funny, I mean, they kind of wrote like, what are you talking about, Uncle Bobby? And the 10th year, when they knocked it out of the park, and they went. And I am, in my mind, I was there with them, and with my heart, I was there with them.
We're at Cannes Film Festival 2015, just got our tickets for the best of showing, and now we're gonna go see our movie.
There wasn't pomp and circumstance around our screening. We were in a kind of a smaller theater off to the side, but the fact that our little movie that we made in 2 days went all the way to France in front of an international audience, like, it can't get better than that. There's not much more to say.
We made it to Cannes, which wasn't even a goal, but we still made it. and it was very cool to experience it together.
It was just incredible. I was just like, holy crap. A film that I'm in is playing at Cannes right now. It's not a bad way to start out, for sure.
When you're sitting there Friday night figuring out what this project is going to be, you just can't plan that a year later, your movie's going to be playing in France.
We started as high schoolers and just kept plugging away year after year after year.
And what's really incredible about this team and this project is that despite all that time and all the vast life changes we've all gone through, the same people still come together every summer to do this project.
The first 4 or 5 years of 48 Hour, we were high schoolers and college kids. You know, and now it's my career. I work in video and TV for a living. A lot has happened in my life in 10 years. You know, graduated high school and college and got married. Like so many life milestones can happen in that time and so many things that can change your life. But somehow we've continued to do this 48-hour thing.
It was just a group of people that got together to do this because they loved movies and they really loved one another. We enjoyed being together.
All these different people from all walks of life, whether it's big or small, they're contributing and they're playing an important part to the growth of what this 48-hour experience has been.
All these people do so many different things. Most of us are not even in the industry. For people like Justin, who owns like an IT business, and Luke McGowan, who's an accountant, and Billy, who's a graphic designer, JP, who's a volleyball coach, Jack Bovey, who sells medical supplies, and Jason Wilkins, who's a teacher, Crystal Owens, who's a yoga instructor, Bill Hoover, who's a database architect. This weekend is the one time where we can just let our creativity loose and just make something really fun.
I really appreciate the opportunity that I had to do that. I mean, I never would have tried that in my entire life.
I feel like it's so cool and serendipitous. I ended up with this group that, started making movies and as kids on their video cameras and now have such success and just a lot of fun doing what they do.
Even though there were years where they were completely destroying my house, I look back now and I miss that. I would do it all over again because it was really fun.
It's all just for the fun of making movies and getting a bunch of friends together and being kids again. And that's really why I do it. It's, yes, we have a movie that we can watch and show to people, but it's also we now have this shared experience. We have these memories that we can share together.
Even if you're in a film that kind of stinks compared to everybody else, it's still oh my gosh, we made this.
There's nothing else like it. And that's the reason we keep coming back. I've done it for 10 years now. It's almost a third of my life. And I can't thank Mike and Alex enough for starting this project and keeping it going. We've come so far, but it just feels like we're that same group of friends just making something cool on a weekend.
All right, we're on.
Hey.
Hey,
Hey, everybody.
Hey. Go for it, Bill.
Hey, I'm going for it. Hey, I am Bill Parmentier. I was the lead actor in Year 9 for Reimer's Block. And Mike asked me to host this little panel that we're doing after the movie.
All right, we're on. Hey.
Oh yeah, you got to mute you got to mute your computers. Close your YouTubes.
So I'm here with the panel. I'm going to put some headphones on.
Close your YouTubes.
So Mike doesn't kill me. Stand by. Oh my gosh. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Good Lord. Hang on.
Got this.
Yeah, that's better.
All right.
How about now?
Yeah, go for it.
Sweet. Okay, great. Anyway, I'm here with Mike Rolfing. He's been there for 10 years. You guys saw Mike in the movie. Alex Doskal, 10 years. Give us a wave. Can you see? There he is. Oh my gosh. Look at that little heart in the back. So cute.
Cute.
Daniel Hoover, also a 10-year man himself.
How's it going? Hello.
Good, great light back there. I love it.
Oh yeah,
it's beautiful. And Carol Keene, who 8 years. Is that correct for you?
You guy, what up?
That's of the first 10. Yes.
8 out of the first 10. Whatever the number is, it's impressive. So I'm going to just start with a few questions that Mike and I came up with, mostly Mike, to start the conversation. But please, if you're tuned in and you want to join, ask us a question. We'll try to get to it as best we can. So,
or if you're completely sick of us by now, you can go.
Yes, feel free. If everyone wants to tune out, this is purely for us who are within the Zoom, just for our egos. It's going to be lots of fun.
No, Tony, quick, hurry.
Oh, so
keep them in.
Keep them in. No, this is going to be great. Everybody tune in. So first question is to Mike and to everybody, like, why make this documentary? Why did you want to take 10 years worth of footage and make this? I mean, the documentary film itself is great, but why make it? Why take the time?
I think right before year 10 started, we had kind of joked or mentioned the idea of putting together, once we finish year 10, we should make a documentary about the whole thing. Mainly because props to Daniel Hoover over there. He, year 1, decided to start shooting behind the scenes footage and just continue to do it. And there are a few other people mixed into that as well, but mainly Daniel. And so we had all of this content that I had really not done much with. And obviously quite the story to tell. And year 10 ended the greatest way it ever possibly could. And so
mainly, Mike didn't have a job for me, so I just invented a job.
Yeah, right. Pretty much. And so, how do you tell these stories well is the question. And so I thought going around and interviewing as many people as possible would be a great way to do that. I think there's 34, 35 interviews in the movie, and it took a good 4 years to gather them all and edit this whole thing together that I basically did by myself. Daniel, we calculated how much footage we thought there was total. Do you remember? I'm going to find it. I think I have a note of it somewhere.
I mean, it had to be pushing like 30 or 40 hours of interview footage, I would think.
Yeah, because
maybe more.
That's just interview footage. So I think we had 40. There were 41 hours of interviews. I just found my note. 41 hours of interviews just for this. We estimated between 30 and 50 hours of behind the scenes footage. and like 20 hours of just like raw footage that we filmed for the actual movies themselves that I went through by myself.
How much amazing B-roll did you shoot? Because clearly, like, picking up the little Zoom recorder, all that footage that you did. I mean, it was brilliant. Don't get me wrong. But
really, the only story that was in the movie that didn't have footage to support it was the finding the Zoom recorder, because Luke and Hannah didn't think to film while they were driving around the middle of nowhere trying to find a recorder. So yeah, that was recreated, but everything else was authentic.
I mean, there had to be at least like 2 hours of behind the scenes footage just from the initial writing night from year 1, because I was just like, well, I'll just film what everyone's saying the whole night which is not like. So Mike had to go through all of that just to cut down like 3 shots that made it probably for this documentary.
Now that's dedicated documentary filmmaking right there. It's just shoot everything.
Pretty much. I don't know. I think that's about it for just the production of this documentary. It's basically just me sitting in my office at home, hours and years on end at night when I had nothing else to do, piecing this thing together.
Well, that brings me to my next question: was how often did your wife threaten to leave you while you were editing this film?
I think it was all done before we had a child. So there was, and she likes to read and have some alone time. So
Smart.
I think we're good.
That's a smart marriage right there. Good choice. All right, so I've got some general questions about just the 48-hour film and all the films that you guys have done over the years. I want to go down the list of you guys. Do you each have a favorite film from any of the years? Mike, what's yours?
Well, I'll give my favorite from the first 10. We've done 4 since. I don't know. I think 4. 4 since 5. It's been 5 years, but we took 1 year off because Matt got married. Anyway, my favorite of the first 10. Gosh, I love Johnny Jet so much, and like that process. And it was late, unfortunately, which I think someone in the chat did ask how late was Johnny, which we can answer real quick. When you're late, you're late. If you're 1 second late, it's late. If you're 3 hours late, you're late. So we could have gotten it in like 20 minutes late, but we stuck behind and worked on it for a couple more hours. So there's not really a real answer to that question. But I'm going to say Johnny Jet, but I love EVT so much because EVT is like the ultimate everything coming together.
Yeah. Hoover, what about you?
I mean, Johnny Jet's a solid choice. It's so good. The theme song alone makes it like top tier. But I think I go with Ballad of Jill. That's just so much fun. There's I could watch that 4 times in a row. The music's so catchy. Everyone's just having a good time. It's just great. Jack Bovey killed it. It was so good.
Whenever I hear someone say I'd prefer not to, I just think of I'd prefer not to. It's so good.
Alex, what about you?
There are elements from a lot of different films that I like for specific reasons. I think EVT out of the first 10 probably is the favorite just because of what was pulled off. And I think it's the most impressive to watch. Even outside of the 48-hour film project bit, you like it even outside of that. And I think that's kind of important. I think a lot of the other ones are impressive when you do know it's a 48-hour project, but I think EVT stands out as something beyond that even.
Well,
I think that's probably one of my favorites.
And not to toot our horn more, which is what we've been doing all night, so it's fine.
Dude, yeah. This is just a night of stroking egos.
EVT screened at the St. Louis Filmmaker Showcase, which is just a film festival anyone can submit movies to in St. Louis, and it ended up winning Best Short Film at that. And against movies that could be produced in any time frame, which is pretty cool. And it also ended up screening at the St. Louis International Film Festival as a result of that. So that's pretty neat. And it can.
Yeah, we heard that.
Asterisk to my answer though is Lone Wolves. I think is probably my favorite altogether of all of the years.
I think I might agree with you, Alex. That was 3 years ago. Lone Wolves that one is something.
Was that the one with the continuous drone shot?
Yeah, it was all in one shot using a drone that was caught, and then I walked with it, and then it took off at the end, and there were no cuts.
I think we managed to pull off even more with that one than we did with EVT.
In a different way, yeah.
Yeah, in a different way, but I think the technical challenges that we overcame with Lone Wolves, plus the costuming and location, I think were just so perfectly over the top. I think it just looked so beautiful. And story. But the rest of it was pretty good.
Carol, what about you? You have a favorite?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think from like what I'd call the early years, definitely Johnny Jet. I feel like in a lot of ways we started to hit our stride
with being confident to be a little wacky and out there, but also like have like some fun story elements. And then I gotta be honest, Rhymer's Block, super near and dear to my heart. Honestly, maybe because partially, like, I remember that right night, like, we were all in on a different idea. Do you guys remember this? The idea was that, like, we were going to use Alex Hammond's apartment.
Oh, yeah, it was completely different.
While he was living there, and they were, like, unintentionally coexisting. It was weird. So we kind of shoved that off and came up with this new idea, and then everybody sort of got tired and went down the basement, and I was just on the computer with LB Graham, just writing ridiculous things that we ended up shooting, and it won. I also think that's an underrated production year because we were running 2 sets simultaneously for a good chunk of the day. We had the umbrella guy outside and, you know, doing the stuff with Bill inside.
Yeah.
It was nonstop, and we pulled it all together, and it was...
Yeah, I remember Chris Day had Bill mic'd and Rob mic'd. One was outside, one was inside, and he was just recording them at the same time, even though we were filming separately. I mean, you need to get more specifics in that story because we scrapped the whole original plan for whatever that movie was that year, like at 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And just like, we're like,
we do that every other
we're
year
like,
anyways.
okay, what rhymes with umbrella, everyone?
Somewhere on my phone, I still have a list of like all these different crazy rhymes for umbrella. Yeah. I don't know why we picked that. Just like, I think it was actually backwards too. It was like he was seeing the rhymes in the environment, but missing the connections. And then we switched it. So he was like picturing each rhyme.
Yep.
So yeah, it just changes so quickly on writing night.
Well, and if we want to get into it, this, you saw at the end of the movie our nice little title that was like, after 1 week after Cannes, we made another one and it ended up winning these 3 or 4 awards. That one was probably the craziest behind the scenes story of any of them. That was another one, To Kill an Intern, where we had an idea going until 11 o'clock or midnight. And I had like texted and called everyone and said, here's where you need to be tomorrow. Here's what we're doing. And then like in the wee hours of the morning, we're like, this script is terrible.
That idea sucked.
And we rewrote the whole thing. And I didn't even see the script till the next morning until the shoot day, because you guys are busy writing while I was busy emailing and calling everyone again, because we changed locations, we changed characters, we changed scripts. And then we get into the editing room and I start piecing it together. And I mean, we could debate about this forever, but I didn't think it made any sense. And
Which, to be fair, you say that every year. You say this movie doesn't make sense every year. So I think it's understandable that I didn't completely initially agree with you, but I do agree that it was good that we did the pickup.
And so after
time travel,
so
I don't know.
After we had already edited it, I mean, a rough cut. After we'd already shot it, obviously, we rewrote the movie and wrote a new voiceover track on Sunday morning, and had our lead actor come back, record this narration that like tied all these disjointed scenes together that made it all come together. And I mean, if we hadn't done this 10 times before that, we would have just quit.
What was the original idea that night that you scrapped at like 11 p.m.? Remember?
It was like someone the required character that year was like a poet or an author.
It was dark comedy again.
Or an unpublished writer, I think is what it was. And so it was like his grandfather was on his deathbed and he was trying to get the final story from his grandfather to publish, but he was like doing it for nefarious reasons.
Yes, go on.
You're gonna have like a bed in the living room or something, and like,
oh man,
that's when you have like too many people writing, and then when it boils down to just 2 or 3, they're like,
yeah,
we're gonna.
Corey, and Wes were like, there's a picture of me in a fetal position sitting on an office chair, and I think it was like in the moment realizing like we have to start all over.
There's a lot of people that have lost writing privileges over the years.
Mike, how many people do you think were at writing night in year 1?
It's hard to tell for sure because I don't think we have like a wide shot of it all, but 25.
That's
25.
People in a basement barfing out ideas. That was the line in the movie. And I think last year with what was last year? Sir Bardolph. There were 6 or 7 of us. And
has that been pretty common every year, like 5, 6, 7 people?
No, it's more than that. I'm saying 6 or 7 is good.
Every year it just gets cut smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
But the thing about it is, like, you want people to feel like they're a part of it. And if you're going to ask them to be there Saturday, and, you know, we've at least in the earlier days, now we were like, hey, you just come Saturday. We don't need you Friday. But at the beginning, it was like, it was much of a hangout and get the friends together as it was, let's make a movie. And we didn't want people to feel, we didn't want people to feel excluded. And so, but we learned our lesson eventually.
Divide and conquer. Yeah.
Well, I think you also get a level of engagement in a smaller group. A lot more strength and opinions from that smaller group. You can actually hear what actually people have to say versus just chime in. You know, little
yeah.
You actually get a cohesive thought out of people rather than just little nothings.
There's some footage from behind the scenes of year 2, the hallowed year 2 game set match, which did make in the documentary, where I'm literally, as we're driving to our writing location, I'm on my flip phone calling random friends that I hadn't yet invited, saying, "You're funny, come help us write. We need funny people." After there were already like 20 people already waiting for us. And so we thought like the more the merrier, the more ideas that can be tossed out, the better. And that's fine to an extent, but you have to pare it down eventually or at the top.
Yeah. I think you learn that with time and experience. You learn you can't have 87 cooks in the kitchen.
That's how game set match happens.
Which was brilliant, by the way. I loved it. Every moment. Well, speaking of like a whole bunch of people writing together, how did you you decided each of you who does what? Did that sort of happen organically over the years, or was it sort of decided from the beginning? I'm going to write, I'm going to shoot, I'm going to direct, I'm going to edit. How did that work out? And what do you guys usually do on set?
Yeah. Alex, you were the pioneer. Go for it.
I think that's evolved a lot over the years. Before it was just, we need warm bodies, and out of that pool of people, we'll assign you a task sort of as it comes up. It started very much originally with Mike and I. I'm not the story guy. I'm not the director. I don't see things, in the way Mike sees things. So it was natural for him to be the director, and I always enjoy supporting things and making things happen. So I became the producer. And from that point, early on, Mike was producer, director, editor, there was cameraman, sound, we all wore a lot of hats sort of at the top there. And then as the years went on, we pulled in more specific talent like Chris Day on audio, who's done so much for us. Individual people doing a lot more individual tasks, and now it's almost second nature. No one really asks who's doing what. It just happens because we kind of all know our parts at this point.
Yeah, and then Carol kind of started easing his way in various capacities, and by year 6 or 7, he was co-directing with me, and quite a few he's just directed himself, or we've co-directed together, and so it just kind of evolves. Daniel, how about your role? How has your role evolved?
Mine went from like only behind the scenes to the next year star of the entire movie, and then back to behind the scenes, and like helping write, and I did the graphics for Johnny Jet and EVT. I was like second camera for a couple of them. Did the music.
The credits guy.
Oh, I was the credits guy for many years. Yes.
Yeah. Post-production support was very important.
Post-production support. Yeah, I did the little 30-second montage thing for Jill, which was, I think, like I don't know. I still don't know how, like, Mike made the entire movie in the same amount of time that it took me to do like those 30 seconds. But it was like this, I don't know, just a fun idea that we got to pull off. So it's been a lot of fun to see it from many different angles and kind of be involved however the team needs me.
However they need you. And they always do, don't they?
Yeah, indeed.
It's like you got to be like a Swiss Army knife, right?
Well, and I think like Carol and I balance each other out really well, because he's like super uber creative and I'm pretty good at getting stuff done and the technical side of it. Alex is like, you need. I never do not want Alex near me at all. That was a lot of double negatives. Alex is amazing to have around for anything. He is super organized, super resourceful, can fix, build, plan, anything you need him to. And so he's the perfect person to have. And then Daniel, the Swiss Army knife, he just rattled off all of his various things, but also just support and just having consistent people around that know how this works and know when to help or when to not is always a really nice thing to have.
Alex is in that closet behind you, isn't he? You always keep him close.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the door right here. It's the portal between the worlds.
Well, and Alex behind him right now has got the required prop from Lone Wolves, which was a cheese grater, and he has the required prop from Mindscape, which these are ones that weren't in this documentary, which was paint. Which was the heart
done a little set dressing
was painted. Yeah, so he's got some required props behind him.
The heart.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I would add like Luke McGowan to this fab.
Oh yeah.
Honestly. Like Luke was a guy that he was kind of one of those warm bodies that just showed up, and as I was taking more of the directing on myself, and then Mike was kind of sinking more into producing and director of photography, Luke just kind of like rose up as the assistant director of all assistant directors.
Yes.
I mean, just an absolute star out of nowhere. And I know that every set I've been on, I've like relied on him heavily as just kind of that guy.
Oh, and yeah, I mean, Luke had never made a movie in his life, and he's just a friend of ours, and he really is one of the best ADs in town.
He's got like a list of all the scenes and like organizing.
Oh
it.
yeah,
it's incredible. So good.
Well, I think my favorite part is how most of us can go a year basically without seeing each other in the same room. We show up for 48 hours and it's, oh, hey, Luke, all right, yep, we're going. Everything just happens the way it should at this point, and there's very little discussion about it.
Well, and the reason why I scheduled this for tonight at 7:30 p.m. Central was that would be the exact moment our movie was due this year if 48 hours happening. So sadly, it's at least postponed, if not canceled. So
we'd normally be really tired of each other at this point.
Yeah, which maybe we already are.
Yeah, we're getting close. It's getting close, guys. Let's see.
Do you see the two questions in the chat? Did you see those? One from George and one from Eric.
Oh my gosh.
Bill, you got it?
Yes. Oh yeah. Are you going to do some more? Do more of these movies?
So
I know we're all getting pretty old. But.
So that documentary only documents through year 10, obviously, which was in 2014. So we have done 4 since then, and we would do it again this year if it was happening. I think it's one of those things that, like, it's always really fun after the fact. Like it's really fun to get the friends together and do it, but it's also terribly exhausting, and I'm old now. And so like I feel it every year. I feel it more, but we kind of have to do it. It's like a have to.
Yeah, you got to add more circles to your shirt there.
Oh yeah, this represents the first 10 years, if you can see it. So we have the life preserver from year 1, the detectives from year 2, the gasoline from 3, the wiping the hard drive with the magnet, the sand from Super Ben's Super Day, the Johnny Jett Ballad of Jill. This is the Playtime puppet, the umbrella obviously, and the logo from the EVT, which what was also not mentioned in this movie was the voice of EVT. That was a family friend named Harlan Rector who used to like be the voice of the History Channel, like When the Past Comes Alive. Like that's him. And he would do
He's amazing.
He would do movie trailers and stuff. And he lives in St. Louis and just works out of his house. And I emailed him the weekend before. I was like, hey, can you record a script for us if we need it? I don't know if we need it, but we might need it. And he's sure. So we sent him the dialogue on Friday night, and by Saturday afternoon he sent back just one take of the script. And he was the voice of the evil machine, which was really cool.
Yeah, he was great. Hey, by the way, if anybody wants one of those shirts, just go ahead and just text Mike 15 or 20 times. Make sure he gets your number.
I actually think I have one more left somewhere that's a large. So if anyone wants it, let me know.
That's my size.
All right.
Oh my gosh. All right. Eric had a question on YouTube. do you go into the weekend having multiple ideas for multiple genres? You know, how prepared are you? I guess the question really is when you go into a weekend.
It's changed over the years. I think at the beginning we had nothing. It was just like, well, I shouldn't say that. We had like an idea for every possible genre.
Well, we even went so far as having just brainstorming sessions a couple of the years where we just talked through every genre.
Yeah.
And I don't know that we came through.
It didn't help.
No, it didn't help
We
at
didn't
all.
use any of
It
them.
was-
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like we worked ahead of time, like with visualizing the whole, all the different possibilities, but we quickly realized that was like, doesn't really help when you get your prop and your genre. And
Yeah, once you want to start laying those elements in, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think what we've learned over the years is you need to. What's great about the required elements is it pigeonholes you into something. If you were just told make a movie this weekend, it would be next to impossible because there's nothing to really guide you. So that's what's great about those required elements. What we've also learned to do is give ourselves more requirements, which pigeonholes us even more. Not that we have a script ahead of time. We're always up till 4 a.m. writing a script, but we'll like you saw with Johnny Jett, which failed, but it worked fine. We want to make a musical. So like, we're going to do this. And we did with Ballad of Jill. With EVT, we knew we had to incorporate all this footage that we were getting, which we didn't know what it was going to be. And so that's going to pigeonhole us into something like virtual reality or a movie trailer, or, you know, it limits you automatically, even without writing anything. Or like we get a couple locations, like we said with Playtime, we have the theater, and we probably had like my grandparents' house. And so it's like, we're going to film at one of those or at one of our houses. Or with the case,
we have a custom plugin that turns people into sand.
Correct.
So.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't have a script written, but we knew we were going to try to use that somehow. So, I think that probably answers your question. Anyone else want to chime in?
Yeah, I think going in completely raw with like nothing at all is a little dangerous. It's a dangerous game to play.
Well, there's some teams that won't even have actors ahead of time. I've heard people of like they have a casting director who has like a pool of 20 people, and then they write a script, and then the casting director casts it overnight. Which is like they write a script without knowing what actors they have, which is just crazy to me. Like I know, like with Reimer's Block, we knew we had Bill Parmentier, and so we wrote a movie for Bill Parmentier.
Yeah, we did.
Who just
darn right.
Yeah.
Bill, you've been involved in several other teams, right? It's not just our team.
You traitor.
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm a gun for hire, my friends.
Tell us a little bit about the differences between teams and
Oh,
how
yeah.
people approach
How
it
much do
differently.
they suck, Bill?
Oh, no, Anonymous is like honestly like clearly the worst out of everyone. No, it's you know, the teams that I've been on have been you know, it's all people that like I work with. Like I've worked with Mike like so many times over the years, and
like on real sets.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, like real shoots. You know, like professional commercial shoots and stuff, and it's a lot of the same people, just at different companies or different groups that I work with. Like they've asked me to act, and you know, I remember a long time ago I used to do the National Film Challenge, which was basically like the same thing, only you got like an extra 12 hours or something like that. I forget, but
60-hour film project.
yeah, it's like a million years ago. But the team that I was on, I like wrote and directed one of those, and we won one of those years, which was kind of cool, like best in the Midwest or something.
William.
I know, took my own little horn there.
But do the other teams that you've acted in, is their process different, or is it similar to what we've talked about?
It's very similar, and I remember one, maybe, God, time means nothing anymore. But one of the years I was with a team that was, you know, a bunch of like professional video makers, and when it came to like the writing session, like they had me in on the writing session too. I was in to act, and I was also writing or helping to write.
Yeah.
And there were like so many cooks in the kitchen for the writing session, and it just kind of came down to like the dumbest idea that we had was like, we got to go with this. Time's up. Start writing. And it worked out pretty well. I think we got like second place that year or something, but I think you guys beat us out. Just the one year, though. Just the one year. I know, but it's fun. Like, you know, it's fun. I mean, I see why you guys want to do it every year because it's just a blast. I mean, it is super exhausting, but it is fun.
Well, and as we mentioned in the movie, I think if I recall correctly, like no one's getting paid for this; it's all volunteer. And I think, but the fact that it's an official thing, there's prizes involved, there's potential for it to go a long way, and you get to watch it in a theater. Like that really gets people going and gets people to want to be involved, and that's what's really fun about it. If I just like texted 25 friends and said, "Hey, we're making a movie this weekend," just randomly, they're probably like, "Well, I got to do this and I got to do that. Sorry." But if it's this official thing, just adds a little something special, and that's what's really cool about it.
Yeah. All right. So what we talk about how exhausting it is. Like, what were some of the worst moments that you guys remember, where you either wanted to kill each other, or like in Johnny Jet, where you knew that it just wasn't going to get on time. Do you guys have some really tough memories, so to speak?
With the Johnny Jet thing, I remember it was getting so down to the wire. Mike's like finishing the audio, putting in the graphics at the last minute that I had made, and then he was going to export it on a thumb drive. We were going to run down to the elevator and then hit the car, and it was like, I don't know, a 3-minute drive from where we were editing. But the elevator of this building is so slow. It's like notoriously slow. So I actually was tasked, one of my utility knife roles, to go call the elevator and just hold it on the 3rd floor and like completely, mess up everyone else in the building that's trying to use this thing. I'm just going to hold the elevator until Mike shows up with a thumb drive and we can go. And it's like a couple minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It's like 20 minutes that I'm waiting or something like this, a really long time. And then someone finally comes out in the hall and is like, Mike decided not to turn it in because it's going to be late. So like, so I can like get out of the elevator. Okay. That was a really like disappointing, bit of time, because it's like, this movie's going to be so good, and then just kind of like petered out. But
side note, at what point in Johnny Jet did you decide that finishing the film to be where you wanted it to be was more important than getting it done on time?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably right at the end, because, I mean, I don't remember precisely when the audio recorder showed up. We had sound, but it was sound from the camera, wasn't from the good boom mic, and the camera audio is echoey and just not great. It just doesn't sound present. It'd be like me way over here instead of me right here. And so we had, yes, we had sound in the movie, but it just didn't sound very good at all. So I think it was, I know I started dumping the good audio back in, and I think I just realized it's just, I'd rather this be good than be on time when it sounded, when it sounded terrible. Yeah.
That's the filmmaker in you.
Daniel, your story reminded me of what we do now, which is not only do we hold elevators, but we typically will take the movie down the stairs if we're in a taller building, like a Coolfire, just in case we get stuck in the elevator. Or we will often drive 2 cars to the drop-off location so there's a backup car in case someone gets a flat tire. Because we've gotten the drill down pretty well, but we still work to the very last minute, because you never finish. You just run out of time, no matter what. And so we will often have multiple copies on 2 different thumb drives and 2 different cars, and
and there's always an early edition, the emergency, the power goes out copy, and then usually we even watch them like in the car on a laptop, looking for errors, and like I think we've seen weird encoding things happen and stuff like that before.
Yeah, like I'll send Alex and his wife out with copy number 1 as they head to the drop-off location, which is 5 or 10 minutes away, and I will, while I am copying it to the second thumb drive as the backup copy, and then they are proof watching it in the car just in case, because there'll be just enough time for me to fix something if they find something wrong with the file. Just things you learn over the years. There's stories of people running in with DVDs still burning on their laptops, and they pop the DVD out and accidentally write in Sharpie on the wrong side of the disc, and then it's unplayable, and then they're out. There's horror stories of drop off. So we do what we can to mitigate those.
Yeah. Carol, what about you? Was there a time when you like wanted to completely pull your top knot out?
Never.
Never.
For me, it's always like there's great energy. Everything's like cooking along until like Saturday night. And that's when it's like all the people go home, you know, they all get to be done. And it's Mike and I just sitting there, like sometimes just doing all we can to just keep our crap together and not bite each other's heads off. And like, you know, we both want to make the best movie possible. He's thinking logistically, trying to organize. I'm thinking creatively. And I think, you know, I think we've gotten a lot better at that dynamic. With Mindscape, it was very pleasant, but it's still just like he and I just dead tired. And that's just always just the grind.
And my mindset is kind of the opposite of that in a way. Like I love the vibe of Write Night and filming and stuff, but I'm always never confident in what we're doing until I actually start editing. And that goes with most projects I work on in general. Because it always comes together in post-production, always. Except for Lone Wolves, because that was one shot, and that was what it was. But though Brent killed it with the audio, so anyway. But when I finally can get like a rough cut together and see it and see how it's fitting together, then I start getting really confident. And then often I'll have a decent cut done. If we finish shooting at 4:00 on Saturday, I can have a really good rough or fine cut done by 2 or 3 a.m. and then sleep till 7 and then wake up at 7 somewhat refreshed and really start fine tuning it. And then you have a lot of time I get that first cut done as quickly as we possibly can so we can make sure it works. Like year 11, we had to rewrite the thing after the fact. But yeah, like I said, I'm never fully confident in our idea or plan until I see it starting to come together on the computer.
I always love how Mike goes on a hunger strike for the weekend. That's always one of my. No one is allowed to eat because Mike's not hungry.
Oh, you guys! My mom always is our caterer and brings a giant spread for lunch on Saturday. But yeah. I rarely have time to eat, and I've gotten better in recent years. But I think like year 9 or 10, I weighed myself before and after, and I lost like 8 pounds or something like that.
Oh my god.
No time to eat. Only editing.
Man.
I do have one more bad thing that happened.
Lay it on.
Yeah. This was not talked about in the documentary because it would have put a damper on the end of it. Carrie, you can chime in because you were present. We go all the way to France to watch our movie in the Palais at Cannes, which was really cool. I mean, as I mentioned in the movie, we weren't like in the biggest screen, and it was mainly just people there it was with 10 other 40-hour film projects, and so those people were there, and maybe a few random stragglers who jumped in. And so we sit down, waiting for the screening to start. Everyone, the buzz is in the room, and the movies start to play. And I'd say a couple minutes in, what happened, Carrie?
I don't remember exactly what happened other than like our movie didn't play.
Well, there was something wrong with the file that they were playing back, and it was all pixelated and messed up, and it was like jumping. It was completely like a corrupt data file.
Because did we watch? I felt like we watched at least one full.
I think maybe one of them played. It wasn't ours. And then we sat there for maybe 20 minutes while they were trying to fix it. And they're like, sorry, folks.
Oof.
We'll see what we can do and try to plan another screening for tomorrow, which can't be an easy feat at the Cannes Film Festival to plan a bonus screening. What I imagine happened is the 48-hour folks did like a data transfer of when you screen it in cinemas. There's this file called a DCP file, which is a super uncompressed giant video file that's really complicated. And I imagine they file transferred that through the internet. And the people at Cannes were too worried about like the premiere of Pixar's Inside Out, which was also happening there at the same time, that they didn't bother to check the file before they screened it. That had to be what happened. And so fortunately, they did resolve it, and they did schedule screening for the next day. But Carrie, you had to leave, didn't you? You didn't even.
Well, I bought a plane ticket and a ticket for a bullfight in Madrid, and I was just like, I'm out of here. Like, I've seen it before. Let me know how it goes.
But my wife Mallory was there with me, and then Carol's parents were there because they happened to be in Europe anyway, so they like revised their plans to come to Cannes. So the four of us, sans Carrie, went the next day into a little smaller screen, and it was a much less enthusiastic crowd. But our movie got screened twice in Cannes, kind of.
Ooh,
kind of
double the audience.
Fortunately, our travel plans we had an extra day in that area because we went off to London 2 days later to finish our trip. So that was something. I feel like that would be a poor way to end the movie. So we left that story out.
Well, you guys were giving me trouble in the documentary for the Xbox fiasco, but I will say that the Xbox came in handy in EVT because a lot of the footage that we got from around the world were actually some online gamer buddies that were just kind of scattered throughout. So you just got to use the network, comes full circle.
Yeah, that's true.
Hashtag redeemed.
Redemption.
I will say the biggest star of that was my friend Kyle Berkampus from college, who lives in Boulder or Denver, Colorado, and he shot all like the deer on the hills and the girl running in the prairie that we intercut with Harrison running along the ledge of the wall. And I mean, he shot some amazing, I think he brought out a Red camera, like a Red Epic, that when he was shooting 4K at like 120, 240 frames a second. Oh. And I remember he sent us that footage, and I got it early Sunday morning, waking up after, being delirious. Or actually, he might have shot it Friday evenings. Maybe I got it Saturday afternoon. Whatever. Got it, and we pulled it up on my phone, and we're like, this is the greatest thing ever. Like, this might actually work.
And that's when we knew. Between that and the desert footage that Carol and his team were shooting.
Oh yeah,
awesome.
The second biggest star was Carol Keen. Sorry, not to leave you out.
Go to the beach. Like, who has beach footage?
Yes.
In the St. Louis competition, like it doesn't happen. That was awesome.
Drove a lot that day.
Yeah, I mean, you had beaches and deserts and mountains all in one day's drive in Los Angeles, which was really nice to have.
I mean, I think about the production logistics about that, but you can sort of let that go and let people kind of go shoot their own thing and say like, hey, we need some sweet B-roll of a mountain, go do it, and then people just go and shoot. But
yeah,
the sort of videographer in me thinks like, how do they transfer all that footage online and download it all in time and get it uncompressed and all that stuff?
Yeah,
like,
well,
how did that go?
It would have go ahead, Alex.
I was just gonna say that was like the first time that it was really plausible to get halfway decent footage through the internet. The internet used to suck in terms of moving high quality video around, but it was just starting to be sufficient for that, and there was enough time between the Friday to Sunday to allow that to happen, in a reasonable time frame with Google Drive or whatever people wanted to use. But what I thought was kind of interesting was that, we had film from the Red, like Mike said, and then I think we had film from a potato as well. And it kind of added to it because it made you really realize that it was different places with different people and different things, and it kind of made sense in that element.
We got some vertical footage as well from a few folks. Yeah.
And then what I also recall, and I can neither confirm nor deny who was involved, but a round table in Mike's kitchen with a printer and a lot of pens trying to make paperwork happen. And it was questionable.
Yeah, I mean, you have to get releases from every single person involved, which we did. It just took some effort to get people to scan things and sign them and take pictures of them and send them back to us and take pictures of their signatures. And we got it all. We got it all legit.
Yes, if the NSA is listening, all the paperwork is totally legit. Thank you.
Yeah, and to Alex's point, this was like the early days of Vimeo as well, early-ish, where they had like a download button. So you could upload a video and then someone could just click download and it would download. YouTube wasn't really able to do that without third-party software, and which it still can't. But there were plenty of ways. We got a lot of Dropbox footage and Vimeo clips, and none of it was uncompressed, but it was high res enough that we could turn it into a virtual reality machine.
Yeah,
I'd say at least 30 people sent in footage from all over the country and the world. It was really cool to see that like level of teamwork, where the early days it's just our friends from high school, and then eventually it like grows to people we met in college, and you know, everyone's kind of moved on and spread out, and then we could just like leverage all of that in 2 days.
Well,
just bring it all together
and
in one
on
cohesive movie.
And on top of that, as soon as we knew what the required prop was, which was a ball, and we decided it was going to be a tennis ball, which there was a whole subplot that we got rid of about tennis balls falling out of a closet, and it was like going to be like this tennis ball was haunting him. Go
on.
Yeah, I don't remember. That's all I remember. But we told Daniel texted or messaged all the people and said, if you can include a tennis ball in your shot, do it. And so if you look very carefully, the tennis ball comes from when Leo is drowning in the river. He's tossing a ball and the ball floats down the river. Like that's where it comes from, Harrison's memory. But it also appears in a few of those random B-roll shots that people film for us in various places, which
like floating in the surf by a beach, or someone throws it in the pond or something.
And so we were doing that to kind of prove that we didn't cheat. That was one of the things. No
one believed us. No one believed us in the audience. You know, it's like, wow, that was a really good movie. Everyone's clapping. They're all kind of looking around like,
you cheaters.
Yeah, like, come on, you didn't film this. This is stock footage. And then it scrolls up, and we very specifically put all of this footage was made, you know, and like everyone went crazy.
Yeah, but so if you look super carefully, you'll see a tennis ball and a few other shots that we did not film.
Clever. You clever girl. You.
Well, and I think if I remember correctly, I keep seeing Eric in the chat there, which, hey, Eric, I haven't seen you since college.
Is that Eric Peterson? I don't have it
Eric
up.
Peterson.
Hi, Eric.
Yeah.
And I think he was our first footage that we got in from New Zealand because he was so ahead of time compared to everyone else. And I remember looking, he was like riding on a moped or something through town. And it was just exactly what
we told them you have to wait till 7:30 p.m. Central Time on Friday, whatever, June 3rd, which was, you know, Saturday afternoon for him. And yes, he was in New Zealand at the time, which was pretty cool.
Awesome. Let's see. So we got a couple questions from YouTube. Let's see what we got here.
We still got 23 people watching.
Hey, let's give them a show, boys. Come on, here we go.
Well, I'm at least one of them.
I was wondering.
Yeah, mine's up too.
This is a Bill question.
Okay.
How long have you guys known each other? Because that's something that I think, like watching one of the like film 1 and 2. It's like you guys all look like you're 12. So it's, you know, how long have you guys known each other?
Who's going?
Mike and I probably we went to the same high school together.
And Daniel.
I was a couple grades lower than Mike and Daniel, but we did a lot of the film stuff together in high school, and knew each other from that.
And band, we knew each other.
And band, yeah,
band represent.
So yeah, the first year we did was right after Daniel and I and Carol graduated from high school. So we were 17, 18. And Carol is my cousin. So we've known each other for 33, 34 years. And then Daniel and I have known each other since 5th grade.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
You moved back to Missouri and sat next to me in class. And we're like, hey, you play trumpet in the band? I don't play trumpet in the band. We're going to be like best friends. Awesome.
I played trumpet for 1 year, and then I abandoned that.
Nerds.
Hoover, we were on a basketball team together.
That's
you two,
right.
Like, when was that? How old were we?
I gotta think it was 6th grade.
Yeah, so I've known you since 6th grade.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mike,
and there's
were
like all
you-
sorts of church connections and stuff too. It's a whole overlapping mix.
Did we play in jazz band together too, or is that maybe Hoover?
I was in jazz band for on and off. I don't remember.
Yeah.
What'd you play?
Definitely
Guitar?
Our senior year, me and Mike's senior year, he was the keyboard.
Yeah. So, I mean, the core of the team, and we mentioned Luke McGowan, and there's Garrett Henry, who's been around for most of the years, and I know I'm missing people, but most of us are high school friends or family. Mary Kate Shields Vandenberg, another cousin who's been involved in many years. So the core of the team really goes back, I mean, even before this started, but over the years, we've supplemented with professional actors and professional audio people and professional gaffers and professional composers and musicians and sound mixers, and we keep adding to our what's the word, our dossier, our repertoire, our what do you put business cards in, that spinning thing, our entourage. And which keeps it fresh and fun, but it's still that core group of people.
Yeah, for sure.
I will also say
Jeff says basketball was 5th grade, so there you go.
There you go. I'll also say we probably weren't wise. We probably just got lucky. But very early on, and I would recommend this to anyone who wants to do this and is young, we got a lot. We always had older people involved. Whether it was our uncle Jeff, who fortunately owned a video production company, which was very helpful in the early days. Well, every year, using those facilities. Or a lot of mine and Daniel and Alex's high school teachers helped. LB Graham, Larry Hughes, Alan Schwam. There were teachers involved as actors and coaches involved as actors. A lot of like older people, older than us at the very least. They're probably like 25 at the time. We got involved, and that added some needed wisdom to our group. To maybe not with year 2, but every other year, like maybe we should not try that, or maybe we should not try that, and we always tried to cast our movies older than us, so that it felt like we were a little more legit than.
So it didn't look like it was starring 12-year-olds.
So there weren't a bunch of 10-year-olds playing police officers, which happened in year 2. So we didn't always learn from our mistakes, but I would always recommend that to anyone younger wanting to do this. Yes, get your friends involved, but also get someone older involved who has some knowledge and wisdom at the very least.
Yeah, maybe even not in filmmaking, but just in life.
Precisely.
And they, that could definitely help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. There's plenty of us on the team that are not involved in professional filmmaking whatsoever. I think of Luke, myself. We barely touch a camera outside of our phones 95% of the year, and then jump into this. And I think sometimes you have some outside perspective from that.
Our chat is telling us that the spinny business card thing is called a Rolodex. So thank you.
Chat's answering questions now.
Yeah, I need to pull this up to a little more prominent view here.
Yeah.
To go along with pulling in people from that are older than you. I think my favorite was Alex. You brought your neighbor over for some of those early years.
He's still my parents' neighbor. Interesting guy.
Everybody, come on in.
I think a large part of year 2 came from him. I think he had some of the costuming that we got, and I think he acted in Superbad.
Yeah. He was the boss.
Greg.
He was the boss. Yeah.
Super keyboard there.
My kids really want a sandbox. Can you come give that to them?
So somebody wants to know if you got down to the wire on Sunday night, what's the most you've had to cut out of a film, or have you guys even had to do that at the last minute, cut a whole scene or something
because it's too long?
Yeah, I don't know. The last minute edits being screw it, we got to get rid of this whole thing. Let's just go with the rest of it.
At least of late, we've tried to keep our scripts very short so that at the very least, we're not going to go over the time limit, which is 7 minutes plus a minute of credits.
You don't like that anyways.
No, I mean, I think 7 minutes is way too long for a short film. I mean, EVT is under 5 maybe plus credits. So, I mean, we don't always follow that rule, but I like to keep them as short as possible because it keeps your attention and it's just done, good, memorable, end it with a punch, end it with a bang, be over. Do not linger. I know there have been little scenes and shots cut for various reasons, but it's more because they don't work than it is because we don't have time to finish them. I don't know. Do you remember anything, guys?
I think usually by the time we get there, we're pretty well under time. I think early years we had a hard time fitting our story in, but I think of late that's not really been something we've fought with too much.
And almost always you write more dialogue than you need. Almost always. It's always pretty easy to cut out a sentence or two here and there, or a pause or two here or there to keep that thing nice and tight.
Yeah, To Kill an Intern, even though we did write a lot more and film some wild lines and stuff, I remember chopping a lot of scenes because if you'll remember, that was the one that we started writing at midnight, and it was me and Wes and Corey just we just needed to write a huge script, and we just filmed it all, and then we got in, we're just like dicing it up. But that's the only real example I can remember of like chopping significant stuff.
I think we also got really lost in dialogue on that one, and I think that may be why it wasn't as good as some of our other films where we had a lot more action and stuff happening and stuff to look at and see.
Yeah,
Mike,
that one's super dialogue heavy.
Did the first string out of just the dialogue of EVT with none of the B-roll and none of the sound effects and music. It was like 3 minutes or something. It was really short of a movie.
Well, in our script literally said something like "crazy stuff happens." That's what was written in the script.
And it did.
And that's where I was just like amazed, because it was probably the roughest skeleton of a edit from like where it started to where it finished. And like, I don't know how Mike pulled it off. I still don't. Like all these transition effects and music, sound effects, and I don't know, you just like layered and layered and layered and shoved all this stuff in there, all this B-roll. I don't know, you probably got like 3 hours of sleep that night.
Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, but you sat and did like the graphic overlay, which was awesome. Chris Day, who did audio for us that year, which you saw him in there a couple times, he randomly emailed me. He's like, "Hey, I worked on some music for you." He didn't even mention he was going to do it. And he sent me the whole kind of, what's the word, motif throughout, where the horn goes, you like hear these horns that are kind of Inception-like or whatever. It's the last Big Bang too, is that horn sound. He created that at home in Logic or something and just sent it to me. He's like, "Here, use this if you want." And I ended up using it as like kind of the main theme, so to speak, of the EVT system.
Well, even we went and shot at Westminster separately, a whole bunch of B-roll with Harrison and I as like a second unit, and I think we had a couple other people with us.
It was you and Luke.
Shot. Yeah, the wall running. We were in the wood shop. We were slamming lockers. We did a whole bunch of stuff that I think didn't even make it in, but climbing walls, all sorts of stuff.
Yep. Oh, it'd be fun. I didn't get to incorporate any of that B-roll in the movie because it was already too long, but there's lots of really fun shots you guys got of him like, hiding behind walls, and you like went down in the boiler room in the school and he was like hiding behind pipes, and you had him like climbing in a locker and like all these just random stuff just so I had some things to use featuring Harrison.
I've got my own question for Carol and kind of for Mike too. It's like, as a director, how frustrating is it to work under such short time constraints where you maybe can't get the exact performance that you want out of an actor, and you just have to say, okay, good enough, let's move on? You know, I understand that in the commercial world, that's kind of how it works, but like on a film, how is it different?
I mean, I think we got better at that with time. I think it also helped that our actors got better in time.
Oh yeah.
We were literally using like our friend's mom, you know.
Well, and like volleyball coaches from our high school.
Yes. So I think like Mike and I had to develop kind of a system internally between us during those days where we're like, I would just try to get it as good as I could, and then he would tell me like, we got to go now. And so we just developed the trust at that point, so that by the time we had people like you and Jerry Vogel and stuff, you know, they would nail it in one take, and I'd be like, I'm good.
Yeah.
And, you know, Mike would need another one. Or I got really good once we had Luke McGowan as an assistant director. He would be with Mike, and they would be doing everything, and I would be in the back with the actors, like running through everything. So, yeah, we just kind of did what we needed to do. It's fun, dude. It's like a complete, you know, adrenaline rush the whole day, and it's pretty awesome.
Oh, I know, it's nuts. So a lot of the maybe the later success just comes from experience, and then bringing, instead of the core group of guys doing 10 jobs each, you can delegate some of that work to some other people who are maybe more experts in a certain field. We got pretty specialized in the later years, I think, actually. I mean, by the time we were doing Mindscape, I mean, it was a well-oiled machine of, you know, Luke doing, you know, all the scheduling and actors back and forth, and me with the actors, you know, an hour ahead whenever we would break. And I think Mike and I have a special dynamic where
I can kind of offload a lot of stuff onto him that normally the director might think about. So I can really focus on the actors. So it's just a dynamic that we've kind of cultivated over the years. So that helps as well.
Yeah. And I think also, to your point, people have just know what to do without us even telling them to do it. I mean, we talked about Lone Wolves, which Carrie, you were not at, Daniel, you were not there for shooting that, but Alex and I were there, and we show up at the property to film, which for those of you watching who haven't seen these, because we're talking about ones after year 10, if you go on my website, go to 408hours.com, you can see the first 10 below on that page, but if you click on like home at the top of my website, you can go to films and watch these newer ones. But Lone Wolves, we show up at the property and people just start moving equipment and like clearing the land and like getting stuff ready and like taking license plates off the cars. Like all these things just start happening because Alex is there and because Luke is there and they know what's up and they know what to do and I don't need to tell them what to do. And it just things just start happening. And I'm looking around like, this is amazing. Like we have 25 people here who all are excited to be here and they know what they're doing. And like, it makes everything so much easier and we all love each other.
Oh,
and yeah, so I think and Carrie, you're talking about Mindscape that year, that was 2 years ago. That was like the most chill, like calm, almost boring shoot we've ever had in our lives.
We never shoot in one room.
Do you remember that thunderclap that happened in that room? There's like this huge storm. There's 2 thunderstorms. There's that where we were just like filming. The storm goes over the building. And it was just like a cannon went off. And it couldn't have hit very far. My favorite, though, is during EVT, there's that section you saw about where the creek floods and it's raining really hard. The big climactic line that Harrison delivers is, I killed my friend. And he yells it. And you hear this like thunder just go kaboom right as he says it. Totally natural sound effect. The timing happened on set. Not added in post. Like we couldn't believe it.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yep. That is the truth.
That was one of the wildest 20 minutes of shooting that we probably have had.
And there was no exaggeration in that story. It actually, the cameras do not do it justice how quickly that water rose and how fast it was going while Leo was laying in it face down with blood all over him.
And it was just when we were back there. I mean, we walked in, it was dry. We walked out, it was dry.
Yep.
It was the shortest, most intense storm that we could have possibly had.
Yep.
It makes me think of, was there a point one of the years where it transitioned from being like, oh, this is crazy, I don't know if we're going to get it, to like, this is a well-oiled machine? Was there a point where you guys felt that way? Where it's like, this is really working? No? Okay, great.
Well, I think what it is
I think we always thought it was working.
We always thought it was working. But it was kind of like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Like we would, we start, we think we know what we're doing, but we're just high school kids and we can improve things. We make some improvements. And then like we throw an extra challenge at ourselves. Like maybe this year we'll go HD cameras with separate sound. Well, then that goes wrong, and we
lose the sound recorder. Yeah.
So we learn, we take a step back. We're like, next year we're going to plan for it better, and then we get like a couple under our belt there. We're like, okay, well now we want to challenge ourselves. Maybe we'll make a musical no matter what, or maybe we'll make a movie all in one take. And Mike is really good about like looking for the next challenge to keep us engaged. And like you do it 14 years, like you're going to run out of ideas. So what is that next thing?
I want to do one giant 4 or 5 minute Broadway dance number musical performance. Like not Ballad of Jill musical where they're just chiming in, but like a legit like 30-person choreographed dance number musical sequence. That's what I want to do now.
Alex is over there going, no.
I was going to suggest an entire like 1950s style underwater diving movie.
Well, considering Thunderball is possibly the most boring James Bond movie of them all, and it takes place almost 40% underwater, I think I'll pass on that.
Yeah, but that was not an anonymous production.
True.
Just that's a free one for me, guys. Just enjoy it.
Well, we haven't filmed on a boat yet or a train. We've done airplanes, we've done cars. So I think boat or train needs to be.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We do have
looking at the boiler room thing. Wasn't that at the new campus, but before it was converted?
Yeah, so we mentioned filming in the boiler room. Carter Hickle asked in the chat, where is that at Westminster at the school we filmed at? We filmed in multiple boiler rooms. The one we're talking about with EVT, Alex, that was just like the back storage closet with some pipes, right?
Yeah, it's like the maintenance area, and I think, if I recall, there's another storage room that has a bunch of the electrical switch gears and stuff in it that just look very large and impressive, especially if you don't know what they are.
But with Carter, this is confusing for people who don't know Westminster, but where Westminster Christian Academy currently is used to be a previous like vocational technical college. And Westminster, on its old campus, they bought that campus, and that building stood for a while, and they owned it and just like rented it out to people. So before that was knocked down and renovated, there was a basement and there was a giant boiler room. And that's where we filmed year 3, Supply and Demand. So if you watch Supply and Demand, that is actually in the basement of the current Westminster campus before it was filled in and turned into Westminster now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that room doesn't exist anymore. I also remember there was an incinerator room at the time, an airplane hangar that we used for year 1. There's a lot of stuff in our movies that just completely does not exist anymore.
Yeah, there's a lot of shout out to Westminster. We filmed at least half of these on one or the other Westminster property. Go Wildcats.
Westminster for life.
Yep.
Here's a good question. Once you guys finish a film and you turn it in, do you guys have a tradition or a ritual that you do afterwards?
Yeah,
on a Sunday evening.
I bugged
Besides
Mike
go to
for a
sleep.
Vimeo link so I can watch it because we all want to see the final thing. Like, send it to me.
Normally it's pretty uneventful because we've created a disaster either in my home office or at Coolfire if we're working there. And so it takes like a couple hours to clean everything up, pack everything up, to create like the Vimeo version that I send to the team. And then by then it's like 11 o'clock at night and I'm so tired that I can't sleep is usually how it is. Like I'm so wired at that point that it takes me forever to fall asleep.
I think usually more we'll do something after the best of showing or before something like that.
Yeah.
That's usually more our speed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
I think we still got 20 people watching.
Hey, all right.
We can
Anybody
start.
else have any questions? I'm out of questions at this point.
I think we covered a
I
lot.
want to hear from Mike about the making of.
Oh, yeah.
About this documentary. I know there's a few stories.
We could call it.
It took you how many years? Like 4 years just to make this feature film thing?
Yeah. What do we call it? 1,000 hours of 480 hours or something like that? Yeah. No, I don't think. I will say, if you want some more fun behind the scenes, there is if you go back to my website, go to 480hours.com, click on home, you're on MikeRolfing.com. There's a watch Lone Wolves, there's a 10-minute behind the scenes piece on that Josh Theus shot. He did a really good job. And I pieced that together. That's a really fun behind the scenes. I don't think I have edited behind the scenes about any other years yet. Mindscape was pretty uneventful. Sir Bardolph was fun, but we didn't really film BTS on that. Yeah.
No, I don't remember any BTS on that.
I think it'd be pretty hard to top the first 10 years as far as a story arc goes.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I always am working on something, so you never know.
I remember we were interviewing each other. I helped film Mike's interview and Mike filmed my interview. And having been part of it for all 10 years, there's a lot of stories to tell. I don't exactly remember how long you interviewed me for, but it had to be at least 4 hours, I think.
Well, if you pay close attention throughout the documentary, Daniel's background gets darker and darker and darker because we had him in front of a window. And
the sun literally sets.
And by him talking about EVT, it was completely dark outside. That was also 6 days after I had my appendix out.
Oh yeah.
Randomly. So I was like sitting there for 6 hours with a sore stomach trying to interview Daniel. How long did my interview take?
Yeah, when I interviewed you, we made sure not to make the same mistake. So we did it on the stage at Westminster. So there were no windows. And it was a good thing that you couldn't see time passing, because I'm pretty sure I think it was 7 hours, 6 or 7 hours that
it was
to camera.
It was a complete blur. Well, I had a list of questions and you kept adding questions. So, which was great. I mean, it created great content, but I also tried to not include myself. I tried to include myself as little as possible in the actual movie because it's truly about our team.
Yeah, but you can imagine, so there's 4 hours of my thing, 7 hours of his, like 30 other people, and you literally went through every bit of it and like typed out what everyone said and like found all the different comments. It's crazy, like as an editor, knowing like all the work that you did for this documentary. So it's really cool to watch it, and just all the history and friendships and everything that you just packed into it. It's great.
Yeah, and I haven't really done anything with this. We had a premiere in November, and then I decided to do this because it's supposed to be 48-hour weekend, and I just wanted to have it as like a really something for us all to have as a time capsule, piece we can look back on. I may try to submit it to a film festival or something. I don't know if outsiders will be interested, but I do think it's a pretty cool story.
Yeah, it is. It's great. You did a great job, Mike. We're very proud of you.
Thanks, Bill.
Yay!
Without Mike, none of this would have happened. Well, and Alex too.
Well, Alex found out about it in the first place. So.
That's true.
That was my mother. That was my mother.
Kathy.
Shout out Alex's mom.
Yep. Shout out to Kathy, to Claude, to Diana, and Fred in there since the beginning. So Eric asked one last question. Is there a story that no one wants to talk about?
We don't want to talk about it.
There's nothing that comes to mind. I think most of it's out there.
There really hasn't ever been like a really terrible, tense, like relationship kind of jarring moment that I can remember. You know, like we get sick of each other, but we get over it.
Yeah, I mean, we all collaborate very, very well together. And if we didn't, I'd kick you off.
Ooh, that reminds me. You don't have to name names. But who's worked with you and then never worked with you again, like by your choice?
Oh, by my choice.
You don't have to name names.
I don't know. There's no one that's like specifically gotten fired, but it's maybe a person or two that didn't get the email the next year. I don't know.
Oh man, great, juicy stuff.
We were talking about how like Alex's mom was the beginning thread of this, and then how Mike, your mom, it's like, and my mom was in the punchline cameo at the end. It's really fun seeing like how family gets involved too, like Mike and Carol are cousins. Like it's just been this crazy family to friends group to like professional career to it, just like I don't know how to describe it.
Uncle Bobby,
yeah, it's just
Ethan
great.
and Hopkeen, shout out to the twins that have been many younger versions of people.
Yeah, little cousins when we need them.
Bill's nemesis,
older cousins.
Reimer's block.
Oh, that girl. Oh, that little girl. I can't believe it.
That was
Sweet little girl.
the comment of the night in the live chat was, "I hate that girl," or whatever you said. That made me laugh.
She stole my victory away.
She did.
Well, now
Unbelievable.
there's a fleet of children that we have for new actors. So
yeah, and if you watch,
we've got the Ellies, we've got
Abby. Yeah, if you watch Mindscape, my daughter Ellie was 2 months old at the time, 3 months old, and she has a cameo in that one.
Full circle of life.
Indeed.
Hey, just as a reminder, I have 2 kids and they're very cute and they're great on camera.
Okay.
So
I dig it.
Let me know. They don't really look like me though. So
you're looking like Errol Flynn right now or something.
I am. My God. That's more Charlton Heston. Sorry. I got all my impersonations mixed up. All right. You guys have any last words?
I think I'm out of stories.
Out of stories.
I got a final thought. We've touched on it a little bit, but watching this documentary and just 48-hour project in general, I think the special thing for me, and I'm sure some of you, is, like I said, we've touched on it a bit, but every year this kind of becomes a center point or centerpiece for some friendships. Even in like Mike and I's life, as we've gotten older, it tended to be that as we hung out, like 48 was a thing that kind of brought us together even throughout the year of what are we going to do next year, talking about last year. Hoover and Dos Cal I pretty much see on 48 Hour, but it's just fun that something like this, even for someone like Mike and I who are cousins and see each other other times, but it's been a real kind of thing that's brought us together. And it's been special to like hone our craft together as well on a professional level. It's been just a great experience overall.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that I've met through this process where they were friends of friends that came in, or in the documentary, Forrest Hughes talks about how he was invited by Schwamm, the choir director, and now he and I are like really, really good friends, and that's how we met, because he was invited by someone else to come be a part of our team. Same with Leo Ramsey. I didn't know him. Wes Morell knew him, and that was just last minute. And Leo was in next year's, and now he's off in LA being an actor. And so same with Harrison Farmer. This was his first film role, I believe, was EVT, and it went to Cannes. Before he even went to college, he already had a movie screening at the Cannes Film Festival. Same with Leo at the Cannes Film Festival, and now he's off in LA after studying acting, trying to break it into the business. So it's cool to see what our team has spawned, friendships and potential careers as well.
Cool. Well, we'll leave it at that, guys. Thanks for having me. Thanks for 10 plus years
indeed
of wonderful filmmaking and this great documentary about the whole process. So thank you, Mike, and everybody for putting all the hours in, all the millions of hours. And everybody for watching and joining in, and the questions and everything. Thank you so much.
All right.
We'll see you in another
7 years. All right.
960 hours.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
All right.
Good
Bye.
to see everybody.